Chapter 32:03. I didn't drink too much, Yinsha said with certainty. I definitely didn't drink too much. Are you trying to be irresponsible? I won't be responsible for things I shouldn't be. Although Yinsha's left on the surface, there was still a knot in his heart. He was a man, and as a man, he should be responsible. From the day he became a doctor, he swore to be a responsible person forever. Even if Lin Nichun did it on purpose, if he really did something that night, he would still feel uncomfortable. Although he didn't tell the original host about this, it didn't mean that Lin Nichun wouldn't tell her. That day at the hotel, Lin Nichun took a photo of her and Yinsha sleeping naked and showed it to the original host. She said to the original host, "The person he loves the most is me. You're too young and don't know what he wants." The original host was such a proud person. When she saw this photo, her heart collapsed, but she didn't want to leave Yinsha's. If she questioned Yinsha's, wouldn't it be equivalent to returning him to Lin Nichun? In her eyes, two people had to compromise when they were together. She chose to remain silent and compromise. She chose to pretend that this didn't happen. But she still had a hangover, cried, and felt heartache. When her good friend Xia Mo found out about this, he was very angry and went to find Lin Nichun to argue. She didn't expect Lin Nichun to tell her so firmly that she would snatch Yinsha's back. She was beautiful, elegant, and played the piano well. She believed that she definitely had the ability to have Yinsha's again. Xia Mo slapped her angrily and left. She didn't expect this slap to be the trigger for the original host and Yinsha's to separate. Lin Nichun went to the hospital, and the doctor said that she had a miscarriage. She cried and said that she had lost her child with Yinsha's and pushed all the responsibility to the original host and Xia Mo. She even accused Xia Mo of pushing her down the hill and causing her miscarriage. Xia Mo said, "I didn't." Yinsha said, no matter what, she wouldn't joke about a child. The original host said, "So it was really your child?" Yinsha fell silent. He didn't know if he did anything to her that day, so even he wasn't sure if Lin Nichun's miscarriage was his. From then on, Yinsha and the original owner fell into a cold war. During that time, he still paid close attention to the original owner of the body, but he had no choice but to go to the hospital to take care of Lin Nichun. Lin Nichun treated him very well. She always said that she was wrong and that she would always be by his side. But Yinsha still told her that he really liked the original host. He still wanted her forgiveness and wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. But at this moment, Xia Mo did something very stupid. She felt that she had let down the original Lin Nichun, so she wanted to help the original Lin Nichun get revenge. On the day Lin Nichun was discharged from the hospital, she got a hooligan to go to the alley and warn her to leave Yinsha's. Little did she know that Lin Nichun had told Yinsha's about this, but the meaning was different. It wasn't a warning. It was telling her that Xia Mo had found someone to defile her. To put it nicely, defilement was actually rape. She was betting that Yinsha's was a man who would take responsibility for her. Hence, as long as she was defiled by Xia Mo's men, Yinsha's would definitely take responsibility for her. After failing again and again, she finally won this battle. Chapter 32:04. Yinsha said, "Did you know that your friend found someone to rape Lin Nichun? You never believed me. Your friend is too much." Xia Mo said, "I didn't. Weren't you the one who asked the hooligans to block Lin Nichun in the alley? Who are those people? How do you know they won't do such a dirty thing?" Lin Hui said, "I believe Xia Mo up to you. We're no longer brothers." That time, the four of them quarreled fiercely. From start to end, the original owner only asked Yinsha's one question. "Do you love Lin Nichun?" "I'll be responsible for her." That was her friend's mistake. He had to take responsibility for it. In Yinsha's eyes, this was something a man had to take responsibility for. He broke up with the original owner and got together with Lin Nichun. And the original owner still lost him in the end. During that time, she didn't pick up anyone's calls or interact with anyone. She even hated Xia Mo. If it wasn't for her stupid actions, she might have been able to be with Yinsha's. Maybe Lin Nichun wouldn't have been able to snatch her away. Xia Mo knew that her actions had completely harmed the original owner. She regretted it and wanted to make up for it. But the original owner refused to see her or forgive her. She didn't have many friends. At the same time, She lost the original owner and Lin Hui. She went to the bar every day and night to drown her sorrows. Finally, she drove home with a hangover and got into a car accident. She lost her life. After the original owner found out, she regretted it very much. She cried herself hoarse at her funeral. Xia Mo was the person who treated her the best in the world. Everything Xia Mo did was for her. But she didn't cherish this friendship. Instead, she chose to give her the cold shoulder and be angry with her. In the end, she even caused her to lose her life at such a young age. In her eyes, she would have been a very outstanding cardiologist in the future. She would have been a great hero who picked up a scalpel in the future. Unfortunately, because of her cowardice and selfishness, she lost her life. After Xia Mo died, the original owner stopped studying. She didn't contact anyone and left the city. When she was at the airport, she only sent a text to Lin Hui, who loved Xia Mo deeply. She said, "I'm sorry." He replied, "That silly girl has never blamed you." The plane soared to a height of 9,000 feet. Outside the window were white clouds, but her heart couldn't calm down until the emergency broadcast sounded in the plane, until the plane fell at an uncontrollable speed, until the surrounding screams filled the eardrums. At that moment, the original owner felt as if her world had quieted down. Even her heart was calm. She closed her eyes and enjoyed the roller coaster ride. She thought that if she could start over again, she hoped that when Yanshi chose Lin Nichuan, she could let go proudly and gracefully. She hoped that after Xia Mo helped her get revenge, she wouldn't blame her. Instead, she would tell her that it wasn't worth doing this for that person. And Lin Hui, sorry, because of her selfishness, he lost the love of his life. In the end, if she could do it all over again, she hoped that she could really pick up a scalpel and become a doctor to help those in need. She really hoped that everything could be restarted. Even if she couldn't go back to before she met Yin Shiz, she could at least go back to before Xiamo died. That was enough. The original owner's deep obsession was brought to the bronze mirror in the chaotic space. In the end, the host Luo Qingshan appeared. Chapter 3205. Although she was about to complete an S-level mission, the system wasn't too cruel to her this time. She didn't go back to the time before she met Yin Shiz, but she went back to the day before Xia Mo died. Luo Qingshan sorted out her memories and ran to the bar that Xia Mo frequented to look for her. Xia Mo was very beautiful under the neon lights. She squinted her eyes and held a light blue cocktail in her hand. She gently swirled the wine glass, her eyes slightly red and filled with sorrow. Luo Qingshan didn't know why, but at this moment, she felt a lump in her throat and almost cried. Just as she was about to walk forward, another youth with dyed blonde hair appeared beside her. The youth looked like a hooligan who frequented bars. He looked at Xia Mo and said, "Pretty girl, you've been here for a few days. How about you accompany me tonight?" Actually, with Xia Mo's skills, the youth wouldn't be able to take advantage of her. But perhaps she was too lonely at that time, so she suddenly wanted someone to accompany her. Even though she knew that the youth had ulterior motives, she didn't want to be alone. "Sure, why don't we go upstairs and sit? There are too many people here." "Sure your head." Luo Qingshan quickly came forward and grabbed the yellow-haired hoodlum's hand. "I'll give you 3 seconds to consider. Either scram or don't walk out today." Xia Mo was stunned. The moment she turned to look at Luo Qingshan, her tears fell uncontrollably. Some people were so stubborn that it really made people's hearts ache. No matter how much grievance they suffered, they would not say a word. However, as long as someone comforted them or stood on their side without hesitation, they would completely lose control and burst into tears. "Qingshan," Xiaomo's voice was trembling as she looked at Luo Qingshan in disbelief. But little yellow hair standing in front of her wasn't happy. He looked at Luo Qingshan with a dissatisfied look and said, "Yo, you're a pretty girl too? Why do you want to be with me?" "Ayaya, be gentle." Little Yellow Feather didn't even have time to provoke her before Luo Qingshan's wrist twisted and broke his bones, causing him to cry out in pain. Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes and said, "Continue what you want to say. I want to see if you can still say it." Little Yellow Hair's face was red with anger. He wanted to use his other hand to resist, but Xia Mo grabbed it tightly. Xia Mo used a bit of force, and Little Yellow Hair's face turned white from the pain. "Oh, madam, be gentle. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry." The youth knew that he had met a tough opponent today. Go, I'll go. In the next second, the youth ran out of the bar like he was on fire wheels. After the youth ran away, Xia Mo looked at Luo Qingshan nervously and said, "You're not angry at me anymore." "I'm angry." Luo Qingshan crossed her arms and looked at her seriously. "I'm angry because you're unhappy that a girl came to such a dangerous place." "I'm fine." Xia Mo pursed her lips. "I can protect myself, but you can't come to such a place." In Xiaomo's eyes, Luo Qingshan was a very gentle girl. She wasn't suitable for places like bars. Chapter 3206. Luo Qingshan looked up and a faint glint flashed across her eyes. "In the future, I can protect myself too." Even though she had experienced the story as a complete bystander, she was still able to understand the story. She didn't know why, but at this moment, she felt very fortunate. Fortunate that she had returned at this time. Fortunate that nothing had happened to Xiaomo. "I'm not angry anymore." Luo Qingchun ordered a glass of orange water as her lips curled into a faint smile. Some people will become passers-by in life in the end. Since they are passers-by, you don't need to feel sad for them, right? Qingchun. Xiaomo lowered her head guiltily. "This is still my fault. If I hadn't been so impulsive, no, the outcome would have been the same." Luo Qingchun shook her head. Even if he didn't send people to block her in the alley, she might have acted out the same way. They didn't, I know. Luo Qingchun put her right hand on her cheek as her lips curled into a faint smile. "Since you were the one who made a move first, then she can say whatever she wants to say." "Do you know why Yin Shuze believes her?" Xiaomo was slightly stunned. This was the first time she had called Yinshi's full name in front of her. The next second, she snapped out of her daze and asked why. "Because he's a male chauvinist." Luo Qingshan took a sip of orange juice and said, "So he will never believe that there are girls in this world who would joke about their chastity. Lin Nichuan is such a girl." Xiaomo slammed the table angrily. "Not a girl." "So," Luo Qingshan shrugged. "Why do we have to be entangled with such a shameless person? She has already gotten what she wanted. From now on, she will go her way and I will go mine." In the original owner's mind, she didn't intend to take revenge on Lin Nichuan. She just wanted to let go gracefully and proudly. She wanted to raise her chest and stand proudly in front of Yin Shi's. Was a true victory. The answer was simple: not loving him. The original owner had always lost because she loved Yin Shi's too deeply. She trapped herself in a romantic love story and couldn't get out. She felt that she would never meet a man like Yin Shi's again in this life. So, she desperately compromised and tried her best to keep this love. Therefore, even though she knew that Xia Mo wouldn't do what Lin Nichuan had said, she still blamed her. It was probably at the moment of her death that she understood that she realized that she couldn't get anything out of this. That night, she chatted with Xia Mo for a long time. It felt good to have a true friend by her side. "But I really don't like her." Xia Mo pouted and said, "I can't accept letting her take advantage of me like this. In this world, people who cheat the first time will cheat the second time." Luo Qingshan smiled. "Also, I only said that if she doesn't cause trouble for us, we won't cause trouble for her. If she does, I naturally have a way to deal with her." She wasn't the original owner. She knew how to deal with people like Lin Nichuan. Lin Nichuan's greatest weakness, and what she was most afraid of, were all weaknesses that could be attacked. Xia Mo pouted. Now that she got what she wanted, she probably won't care about us other than showing off. Let's not talk about her for now. Luo Qingshan suddenly thought of something and asked Xia Mo, "Do you know who Su Shiguang is?" This book came from Chapter 3207. This was the first time she saw the male lead's name on the bronze panel, but she had no memory of it at all. Who was Su Shiguang? Xia Mo was stunned for a moment. Then he looked at her excitedly and said, "Are you talking about Su Shiguang, the chief surgeon of the neurosurgery department of the most famous hospital in the country. What? Luo Qingchun coughed and blinked. Isn't Su Shiguang a student of our school? Yeah, Xia Mo said seriously. It used to be like that, but when he was 18 years old, he was already familiar with a way to complete a brain hemorrhage surgery. He saved the patient who was almost dead or in a vegetative state. 18 years old? Luo Qingchun repeated. The hospital allowed an 18-year-old medical student to be the chief surgeon. Either you've studied too much or you're in a relationship. How can you not know about such a sensational thing in the medical field? Xiaomo rolled his eyes at her and said, that day, there was a big car accident in front of our school. The bus hit 7 or 8 cars. According to Xiaomo's impassioned description of the accident, it was as if Su Shiguang was a god. The casualties at the scene were quite heavy, and there was a traffic jam during rush hour. The ambulance couldn't drive in at all. Therefore, the school became the best and most direct place to save people. Because the medical school also had a sterile operating room, many experienced professors began to perform first aid on the patient. However, none of the professors had a way to operate on the patient who was suffering from brain hemorrhage. Because they didn't have accurate instruments and real experience on the operating table, even if they knew that the patient would die if they didn't remove the blood clot within 10 minutes, they didn't dare to try anything. Su Shiguang immediately asked the patient's wife. After explaining all the pros and cons, the wife didn't have any other way and agreed. You don't know that Su Shiguang is a miracle in the medical field. Xiaomo looked at Luo Qingchun with an infatuated look when he made his conclusion. I heard that when he picked up the scalpel and said, I'm responsible, all the professors in the operating room were stunned. And then? Although Xiaomo's expression was a bit exaggerated, Su Shiguang's story did sound very exciting. Then, Su Shiguang completed the operation very smoothly. Xiaomo held his cheeks with both hands and said, at first, the school's professors and teachers only thought of him as a genius. Although there are very few geniuses, Su Shiguang is not the only one. After the surgery, what happened after? They think he's a god. Luo Qingchun suddenly understood. So that's how it is. How old is he now? It couldn't be that the original owner was too young at that time, so she didn't have any recollection of this matter. 20. Wasn't that 2 years ago? Heavens! It's only been 2 years, but the original owner didn't know about such a sensational thing. Xiaomo seemed to have thought of something and said, I know. You didn't go to high school in our city, so you didn't know. Oh, that's right. Luo Qingchun chuckled helplessly. Why didn't I think of that? However, she couldn't be blamed for this. After all, when she received the memories, it contained a large number of trivial side quests, as well as some scenes that the original owner didn't appear, but could be seen from a third person's perspective. For example, the scene of Lin Nichuan forcefully kissing Yin Shuz in the hospital. This book comes from Chapter 3208. Su Shiguang was so famous in S City, but she had no impression of him at all. When she got home that night, the previous owner naturally typed in Su Shiguang on the search engine. His photo appeared. He had flaxen hair, a white shirt, and his beautiful eyes were slightly narrowed. He had a charming luster and a strong aura. It seemed that Su Shiguang was blessed by God. Not only was he a genius, but he was also very good-looking. However, he wasn't in school anymore. It wouldn't be easy to strike up a conversation with him. Luo Qingchun turned off the computer and decided to have a good sleep first. After all, although it was difficult to see Su Shiguang, it was easy to see Yin Shuz and Lin Nichuan. -7:30 a.m., Yongji Bun Shop. Xia Mo woke up early and waited for her downstairs. They went to the bun shop to buy breakfast together. This bun shop was very famous, so Yin Shuz would bring her here. But now, everything was different. Qingchun and Momo, a boy called out their names in a low voice. Luo Qingchun turned around and saw Lin Hui standing in front of the bun shop in disbelief. Xiaomo's lips curled into a smile. Hey, you're here to buy buns too? Yes. Lin Hui stuttered as he replied. You two are very good. When did we fight? Luo Qingchun pursed her lips and smiled. I don't remember. Yeah. Mo agreed. We didn't fight. That's great, Lin Hui said excitedly. Huh, it's great that we didn't fight. Why don't the three of us have dinner together? Okay. Mo nudged his waist with his elbow. But since we're treating, we should eat a big meal. Okay, you can eat whatever you want. Lin Hui was really happy. He was so happy that he ate 5 meat buns in one go. He usually only ate 1 meat bun in the morning. It seemed that people had to be in a good mood. Only by being in a good mood could one have a good appetite and be healthy. Since they were classmates, no matter how much she didn't want to see Yin Shu's, she would still see him. Moreover, Lin Naichuan's music class happened to be held today. It had been less than a week since the original owner broke up with Yin Shu's. After the breakup, this was the first time the original owner, no, it was her, attended school. Mo also skipped classes for a few days, but there was no end to studying medicine. He would have to return the lessons he missed in the future. The moment Luo Qingshun entered the classroom, she could feel a cool gaze steadily falling on her body. Yin Shu's was stunned. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart. He had been worried about why she didn't come to school, but now that she was here, he felt even worse. He felt that she seemed to have recovered. He felt that she no longer had him in her eyes. This class was about anatomy. Luo Qingshan was used to sitting next to Xia Mo and listening to the teacher's explanation. She wasn't far from Yin Shu's, just a short distance away. But in their hearts, this small distance was as far away as the Milky Way between the cowherd and the weaver girl. I didn't know that anatomy was so interesting. After class, Xia Mo shrugged and said, "We should attend more meaningful classes like this instead of listening to music. Let's skip the next class." This book came from Chapter 3209. Even though medical school had a credit system, the credits were only effective for the main subjects. For example, music lessons weren't counted in the credits at all. Hence, there was no harm in going or not going. Why not? Luo Qingshin yawned and said, "There's still a lesson in the next period. Are you going to be alone in the classroom? We can both stay in the classroom." Xia Mo raised his eyebrows and said, "If you don't want to go, why force yourself?" Silly. Luo Qingshun raised her right hand and knocked on her head gently. "I never force myself to do things I don't want to do." Lin Hui walked forward and wanted to pull their hats, but they dodged her. She looked defeated and said, "The three of us can stay in the classroom." "No need." Luo Qingshun chuckled and said, "We are already tired from looking at the internal organs and nerves. Since we can enjoy music, why not?" When they left the classroom, Yinshi's glanced in Luo Qingshun's direction. Her smile was as warm as before, and she was as happy as before. Actually, he should feel gratified, but why did his heart feel empty? Music lesson. Luo Qingshun, Xia Mo, and Lin Hui sat in the last row. When Lin Naichun saw them, she was shocked and panicked. She thought that after so many things, Luo Qingshun would definitely not come to school for a long time. She even thought that she would leave school. She didn't expect her to come today and attend her music lesson. It was unbelievable. Did she want to snatch Yin Shu's from her? Lin Naichun frowned slightly and cleared her throat. Today's lesson is a little special. I know that everyone has been working hard recently. To become an outstanding doctor, the lessons must be very boring. Why don't we enjoy some love music today? Lin Hui wrapped her arms around her neck and leaned against the chair. How pretentious. Luo Qingshun smiled faintly and said, "I can't help it. Your brother likes it." "He's not my brother." Lin Hui's gaze was cold. He looked away and said, "I don't have a brother like him. Recently, I've been very fond of Dandelion's Promise, so I'll play this song for everyone. You said that we would travel together. That's the only thing you insist on now." In fact, Lin Naichun's piano playing was not bad, but her singing was somewhat lacking. It wasn't out of tune, it just didn't sound that good. Some people had great voices, but perhaps they were just not suited for singing. Without knowing why, it was probably because she was tired from class, but Luo Qingshun felt like she was about to fall asleep when she heard this. Not long after, she yawned and fell asleep on Xia Mo's shoulder. Xia Mo also seemed to feel sleepy. He yawned and leaned on Lin Hui's shoulder to sleep. Actually, it wasn't just the two of them. After Lin Naichun finished playing a few songs, half of the class fell asleep and didn't seriously appreciate her piano and music. Lin Nichuan glanced in Luo Qingqian's direction and felt particularly uncomfortable. She had a feeling that the other party was deliberately humiliating her. The next second, she sniffled and whispered to Yin Shuz, who was sitting in the first row. Is my piano not good? Or is it really boring? She wanted to play a love song because she wanted to tell everyone that Yin Shuz belonged to her. However, everyone seemed to not care at all. Even Luo Qingqian didn't care. This book came from Chapter 32:10. Ding-ling. When the bell rang, Luo Qingqian and Xia Mo gave yawns at the same time. Lin Hui glanced at his watch and said, "Class is ended. The next lesson is neurology. Hurry and get a good seat." Yin Shuz frowned, and his fingers trembled. But in the next second, Lin Nichuan held his hand tightly and said, "Don't look at her. I will feel terrible. I'm the one who let her down." That was the girl he had truly loved. The sudden separation made him hold another girl's hand. On the surface, he hoped that she would forget the story between them. But when she didn't seem to care at all, he felt inexplicably anxious. Even he looked down on himself for having such thoughts. "No." Lin Nichuan shook her head and said, "Who didn't let her down? She let our child down." Lin Nichuan's eyes turned red as she spoke. She seemed to deeply believe the story she had made up. In her mind, she even thought that she and Yin Shuz really had a child. Actually, nothing happened between them that night. "Don't say any more." Yin Shuz took a deep breath and said, "This has nothing to do with her. You're still protecting her." Lin Nichuan held his hand and said, "But I like the way you are. You have a sense of responsibility and are especially good." In the following lesson, Luo Qingqian and Xia Mo chatted and laughed. Lin Hui, who was at the side, would come over to say a few words from time to time. Then, the three of them would look at each other with smiles on their faces. Once upon a time, he had also blended into such an atmosphere. He had also been one of them. In his eyes, he would never forget the way his heart palpitated when he first met Luo Qingqian. However, in the future, he would no longer be the one protecting her. The future that they had agreed on would no longer be realized. In the depths of his heart, he desperately told himself that she deserved someone better. But perhaps one day, when she really found someone better, his heart would be more sorrowful than anyone else. Luo Qingqian didn't deliberately ignore Yin Shuz. She just felt that their lives didn't intersect. But in Yin Shuz's eyes, he seemed to be deliberately ignored. This feeling was really bad 7 o'clock at night. After school, Lin Hui brought them to the newly opened seafood buffet restaurant next to the school. The decor of this shop was particularly high-end, with fine sandalwood tables and blue and white porcelain cups. The air was filled with the fragrance of West Lake Longjing. "Does this restaurant serve tea or seafood?" "Seafood, of course," Lin Hui explained, "but the boss is a tea lover. That's why he decorated it like this." Before they started eating, Luo Qingqian was skeptical about Lin Hui's introduction. But after she started eating, Luo Qingqian said that the seafood buffet in this restaurant was really delicious. Whether it was lobsters, oysters, crabs, or prawns, they were all very fresh, and there was a faint sweetness in the mouth. Lin Hui looked at them proudly and asked, "What do you think? How many points do you get?" Cough, cough. Luo Qingqian cleared her throat and said, 9 points. Where's the difference? Shouldn't you be asking about the difference of 91 points? Wow. Xiamo couldn't help but laugh. Qingqian, you're bullying Lin Hui. Do you feel bad for her? Just as they were teasing each other, a miserable scream came from the private room next door. Chapter 32:11. Luo Qingqian put down her chopsticks and ran towards the room next door. There were about 8 to 9 people in the room, of which 4 or 5 of them were already foaming at the mouth and unconscious. Call for an ambulance immediately. This is a group food poisoning. Xiaomo nodded. I'll call for one right away. Luo Qingqian took off her jacket and turned to the waiter, who was still in a daze. Prepare a large amount of glucose water. Probably due to her medical habits, the original owner of this body would always carry disposable medical gloves with her. Just as she was about to save the most severely injured patient, a young man in a black sweater brushed past her and headed towards the most severely injured patient. Before Luo Qingshun could finish her sentence, a cool voice cut her off. Go take care of the female patient. I'll take care of this. Oh. Luo Qingshun helped the patient up and forced her to drink the glucose water. The young man in the black sweater did the same. However, he seemed to be even more familiar with it as he helped the patient regain consciousness in just a few moves. Group food poisoning was an extremely frightening thing. Once a person was poisoned, they would lose a large amount of body fluids due to vomiting and diarrhea, causing the electrolytes in their bodies to go out of balance. Severe cases of food poisoning could even cause them to go into shock. Because there were a lot of people in a group food poisoning, if many of them were going to shock before the ambulance arrived, the chances of saving them would be extremely low. Human life could be tough at times, but at other times, it could be very fragile. Sure, Guang, I bought what you wanted. Just as Luo Qingshun and the young man in black were treating the patients, another young man in a yellow sweater ran in and huffed. For you belladonna slices? Yes. He handed her a small box. You're in charge of the patients over there. All right, belladonna slices were a stabilizing agent for those with severe cases of food poisoning and abdominal pain. Seemed like when she had the waiter prepare the glucose water, the young man had already gotten his friend to buy the belladonna slices from the pharmacy downstairs. Hold on, Luo Qingshun felt as though she had missed something. Did the boy in the yellow sweater shout something just now? Tom Light? In the next second, Luo Qingshun abruptly stood up and asked, You're Su Shiguang? Probably because she was a little emotional, Su Shiguang's back stiffened. Her tone was calm and distant as she said, Yes. Because he passed by her quickly when he came in, she didn't see his face clearly. Otherwise, she would have recognized that she was Su Shiguang earlier. However, he seemed to be a little cold. Don't be in a daze when you're saving someone. Su Shiguang seemed to feel that his tone was a little cold just now. So he subconsciously added, because we are fighting against the Grim Reaper. At this moment, no matter what kind of tone Su Shiguang used to talk to her, Su Yuehan would never listen to her. He was tall in front of her, as if he was glowing. Perhaps the act of saving people was sacred in itself, and what he said made sense. During this time, Lin Hui was in charge of taking care of the less poisoned patients. Xiaomo also helped to take care of the patients after the call. Until the ambulance arrived, at least no one went into shock or passed out again. They got into an empty ambulance and headed to the hospital to find out what had happened. Chapter 32:12. Xiaomo held his chin and said, Is it because the food isn't clean? That's unlikely. Luo Qingshun shook her head and said, I'm taking care of the patient with the most serious symptoms. Her heart rate is very unstable. It doesn't seem to be caused by stale food. The next second, Su Shiguang looked at him and said, There's a lot of orange liquid in the male patient's vomit. Yes. Luo Qingshun frowned and said, There's also a smell of orange. The next second, Luo Qingshun's expression changed. Almost at the same time, her eyes fell on Su Shiguang. Then the two of them said in unison, Vitamin C? What's wrong with vitamin C? Xiaomo blinked and asked in confusion, Did they eat vitamin C and get poisoned? In an instant, Lin Hui showed a scary expression and said, Is it because of the vitamin C murder case? Luo Qingshun and Su Shiguang frowned at the same time. Their eyes expressed their disbelief. Cough, cough. Luo Qingshun hurriedly cleared her throat and interrupted their wonderful fantasy. You're a medical student. You don't even know that vitamin C and shrimp can't be eaten at the same time. So it's because of food, Xiaomo said. I'm a neurosurgeon, not a researcher of food. But it's not important. Xiaomo waved his hand and interrupted Luo Qingshun's words. It's important. Qingshun, you asked me about Senior Su Shiguang yesterday, and we met today. Don't you think it's a coincidence? Huh? At this moment, Luo Qingshun's face instantly turned red. She stared at Xiaomo with her bright eyes. Did we meet yesterday? Luo Qingshun blinked and said, We didn't. Did you forget who you were discussing it with? She said it so obviously because she wanted Xiaomo to understand. Even if it was impossible to convince someone with such a high IQ like Su Shiguang, at least it wouldn't be so awkward on the surface. That's right. Xia Mo gave her the most painful blow in the next second. She looked at Luo Qingshun with that innocent and helpless voice, as if she was trying hard to recall. It's with you. We were at the bar. Did you forget? Bar your ass. If there was no one else but Xia Mo, Luo Qingshun's tea. But in this situation, the first thing she thought of looking out of the window. Then he stiffly changed the topic and said, the weather today is pretty good. The air is really good, and the sky is clear. She didn't care. She didn't care about what she said. But when he said it out loud, he still felt that something was off. Su Shiguang, who had been silent all this while, had a faint smile on her lips. Her eyes, which were as deep as ink, flickered with a glimmer of light as she looked at her and said, what I see in this darkness is not the moon, but the sun. Xia Mo immediately explained, the moon, the sky is clear. Luo Qingshun was so angry that she wanted to beat them up, but she could only give 2 coughs and suppress her anger as she said, just because you can see the sun doesn't mean the sun doesn't exist. Who said we can't use the phrase clear sky at night? Yes, she was just angry out of humiliation. Chapter 32:13. Hearing that, Su Shiguang glanced over with a smile in her eyes. Xia Mo was also overjoyed. He probably had a hard time holding it in. Only Lin Hui was leaning against the corner of the wall. He had fallen asleep. Fortunately, only 2 people in the world knew about this embarrassing scene. One was already in the bag, and the other just needed to find a way to keep it. Hospital. After a series of gastric lavage and infusion, most of the poisoned patients' lives were no longer in danger. Among them, a few who were lightly poisoned could already walk freely. You guys handled it very well. Dr. Chen looked at them and said, the measures to prevent the electrolyte from losing balance and severe dehydration were all done well. That's what we should do. Su Shiguang changed into a white coat and walked out. They're medical students. Oh, Dr. Chen suddenly said, no wonder. Do you guys want to intern at our hospital like you're seniors? Luo Qingshun was slightly stunned. The awkward atmosphere just now hadn't passed, and she didn't want to talk about Su Shiguang again. She didn't expect Xia Mo to react faster than her. Of course, Xia Mo snickered and said, we're all senior Su's little fans. Are you guys okay? Luo Qingshun blinked her eyes and changed the topic again. Dr. Chun, may I ask why they took a lot of vitamin C before coming to eat seafood? Dr. Chun suddenly said, Shiguang, your medical students are all very outstanding. You even know about vitamin C. Luo Qingshun said embarrassedly, I learned about it when I saw their vomit. I asked one of them who was the least sick. Before they came to the seafood buffet, they had an afternoon tea activity at one of their houses. The owner of the house took out a few cans of vitamin C that were about to expire and let them eat it as snacks. I see. Luo Qingshun nodded and said, I understand. Since everyone is fine, we'll go back first. This awkward atmosphere must be quickly broken. Xia Mo felt that she had created many opportunities, but Luo Qingshun didn't seem to understand her heart. The next second, she continued, You're going back so early. Do you want to eat something nearby? We weren't full just now. Senior Su, do you want to join us? If Xia Mo had said those words in the car unintentionally, then she was obviously doing it on purpose now. Even Lin Hui could tell that he was doing this on purpose. That pair of peach blossom eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. It seemed that she had already included Su Shiguang in her list of love rivals. But Luo Qingshun knew that Xia Mo wasn't saying this for her, but for her. I'm on duty tonight. Su Shiguang glanced at Luo Qingshun from the corner of her eyes and then looked at Xia Mo. Although there's still an hour, I want to go to the ward and see the patients. Oh, okay, Xia Mo said disappointedly. Then I'll ask you out next time. All right. Although Su Shiguang naturally agreed, Luo Qingshun could feel a faint alienation from him. This kind of alienation wasn't just towards Xia Mo, but towards everyone. But thinking about it carefully, this was quite normal. The domain of geniuses was loneliness, and no one could understand it. Chapter 32:14. After coming back from the hospital, everyone went back home. Although Luo Qingshun wanted to stay and see how Su Shiguang was doing at work. She didn't have any good impression of Su Shiguang, so she didn't want to pester the cold person. She thought that would be a long time before they could meet again, but the next day, the school informed her that she would be giving a lecture in the afternoon. Luo Qingchen narcissistically thought that Su Shiguang might be giving a lecture because of her, but just as she had this thought, the system's voice appeared in her mind. Host, you don't have any good impression of her. Where do you get your confidence from? The system is really annoying. I'm a natural beauty, and my confidence comes from my unique temperament. Qingchen, what did you say? She was probably angry, so she said her conversation with the system, and Xia Mo heard it. Nothing. I just wanted to say that Senior Su is giving a lecture in the afternoon. Luo Qingchen looked up and said, Do you know where he's giving a lecture? It should be a lecture hall, Xia Mo said while eating, because I saw a lot of people walking this way on the way to the cafeteria. Nanny? Luo Qingchen looked at the time and said, But it's only 12. The lecture should start at 2:30. So what? Xia Mo drank 2 mouthfuls of fruit juice and said, Who is Su Shiguang? You probably won't get a seat if you go now, okay? The next second, Luo Qingchen grabbed Xia Mo, who was still drinking fruit juice, and said, I think we should stop eating and go get a seat early. She had experienced many school worlds. Some people were popular because of their looks, some because of their family background, and the scariest ones were the male leads who had both looks and ability. Su Shiguang was one of them. No wonder there was no need to line up at the cafeteria today. It was because everyone was rushing to attend Su Shiguang's lecture. Didn't you deny asking about Senior Su yesterday? Xia Mo said innocently. I thought you weren't interested in him. Xia Mo, are you going or not? Luo Qingchen put her hands on her hips and pretended to be angry. She looked at her and said, If you don't want to go, you can continue eating here. I'll go by myself. Xia Mo suddenly smiled strangely and said, Looks like you still care a lot about Senior Su. Hey, all right. I won't tease you anymore. Xia Mo took 2 big gulps of juice and yelled, If you go to the lecture hall now, you won't even have a place to stand. Then what should we do? Luo Qingchen suddenly felt that she might have misunderstood Su Shiguang's popularity and made a mistake in her judgment. He always thought that since he was no longer in school, he shouldn't have so many little fangirls. But reality proved that this was not the case. Because when she looked out of the canteen window, she saw groups of female students walking towards the lecture hall. In an instant, Xia Mo took out her phone and said, Luo Qingchen, please pray to the heavens that you have such an invincible best friend. Because, Xia Mo smiled and said, I already sent people to get a seat early. This book came from Chapter 32:15. The person Xia Mo was talking about was none other than Lin Hui. It was said that when the teacher told Su Shiguang that she would be lecturing in the afternoon, Xia Mo already knew that the place would be full. In order to get a seat, she told Lin Hui not to go anywhere after class and go directly to the lecture hall where Su Shiguang was lecturing. As for lunch, she would go to the cafeteria to eat and bring it over for him. So I'll go buy lunch for Lin Hui, and then we'll go to the lecture hall that you've always wanted. Although Luo Qingchen was a bit angry at Xia Mo's teasing and wanted to beat her up because she had the foresight to let them have a seat, she didn't want to beat her up. She had to admit that the moment she entered the lecture hall, she was really surprised. The entire corridor was filled with people. Fortunately, they came up from the side stairs. If they came up from the front stairs, they probably wouldn't even be able to get up. The inside of the lecture hall was even more terrifying. The lecture halls of the medical school were already very big, and each one could hold 300 people. However, at this moment, there were definitely more than 300 people in the lecture hall. She had seen Su Shiguang's popularity with her own eyes. Here. Lin Hui waved at them with an excited expression. Unexpectedly, Xia Mo was a bit unhappy and said, Didn't I tell you to get a seat earlier? Why are you so far back in the 11th row? Sorry, Xia Mo, I don't think you can blame Lin Hui so willfully. Luo Qingchen looked at the corner of his eye and said, As a doctor, you should be able to tell with a single glance that Lin Hui's eye injury is new, including the red elbows on his fingertips it means that he was hit not long ago. Ayu, how did you get hurt? Xiaomo pursed his lips and said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I think you should know when you see so many people. Luo Qingchun gave a shrug and said with a faint smile, if you can let him come first, others will come first. It's probably because they bumped into him when they were walking up the stairs or entering the classroom. Yeah, at the corner of the stairs. Lin Hui scratched his head embarrassedly and said, this is the first time I didn't let a girl pass first. If I didn't get hit, I should be able to get a seat in the 8th or 9th row. The next second, the girl sitting in front turned to Xiaomo and asked, classmate, is this your boyfriend? Xiaomo froze for a moment and blushed, but he denied, no. Oh, then it's nothing. The girl giggled and said, otherwise I would have complained to you. He must be disloyal to you. When he was going up the stairs just now, it was as if Senior Su was his idol. Ha 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 ha. The moment the girl's voice fell, Lin Hui blushed in embarrassment. In fact, although Su Shiguang wasn't her Prince Charming, he was still a senior who deserved to be respected and learned from. If he hadn't been so crazy about taking up seats, he would have been very happy to listen to his lecture. Xia Mo gently pulled on Lin Hui's sleeve and said, I wronged you just now. You should eat first. Otherwise, it'll get cold. Okay. Lin Hui took the lunchbox and froze for a moment. His gaze was fixed in a direction not far away. Perhaps because Lin Hui's gaze was fixed for a long time, Luo Qingchen and Xia Mo both looked in that direction at the same time. At this moment, Yin Shuz and Lin Nichun walked in from the lecture hall. This book came from Chapter 32:16. Lin Nichun frowned slightly and pouted. She looked very unhappy. Yin Shuz said, there are too many people today. Let's skip the lecture. Don't. Lin Nichun held his hand and said, I know you've always treated Su Shiguang as your goal in medicine. This time, he finally took the time to give a lecture. It would be a pity if you missed it. This kind of opportunity didn't come by often. After all, there were more people from other schools who admired Su Shiguang. This man was like a god in the eyes of anyone who studied medicine. However, they didn't even have the chance to listen to his lecture. Now that he was in their school and in this classroom, they definitely couldn't miss this opportunity. Recently, she had always felt that Yin Shuz was unhappy. She wasn't a fool and could naturally tell that the reason for his unhappiness was definitely because of Luo Qingchen. He got together with her because he thought that Xia Mo got someone to rape her, so he had to take responsibility for her. Since he had already snatched her away, he just needed to work harder, and he would be able to snatch her away too. Why are you looking at them? Xia Mo inserted the straw into the orange juice cup and said, a music student coming to listen to a neurosurgeon's lecture. What a joke. Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes and said, maybe she came to accompany her boyfriend. Actually, she was teasing her. It seemed that Lin Nichun also knew that she might be able to get Yin Shuz's body with her so-called tricks, but she wouldn't be able to get his heart. Thus, she forced herself to come here with him just to perform in front of Yin Shuz. Actually, what was the point of using all kinds of tricks to curry favor with love? Qingchen, don't be unhappy. Xia Mo was afraid that she would be unhappy and hurriedly said, Senior Su is so much better than Yin Shuz, who hasn't met a few scumbags in their life. Make a prompt decision and turn back to shore. No. Luo Qingchen shook her head firmly and said, Yin Shuz doesn't have the right to be compared to Su Shiguang. He's not worthy. These were her heartfelt words. Regardless of whether Yin Shuz was a Casanova or a jerk, as long as he was compared to Su Shiguang, she felt that he wasn't worthy. Wow. Xiao Mo raised his hands and clapped. Qingchen, your expression just now was so cool. We should record it. On the other side, Yin Shuz and Lin Nichun seemed to be arguing. Since there are no seats, let's come again next time. I don't have to listen to his class. Yin Shuz seemed a little impatient because he had accidentally caught a glimpse of Luo Qingchen's figure when he was scanning the crowd. Probably because of his self-esteem, he didn't want Luo Qingchen to see him sitting on the small bench. He didn't think he was handsome enough, or even manly enough, but since we're already here, it's fine for us to sit on a small stool. Lin Nichun pursed her lips and said, I've already bought a stool, so don't reject it. Yin Shuz seemed to feel helpless, but Lin Nichuan had already prepared a stool, so it wouldn't be right for him to reject her. He could only sigh softly and say, "All right." The students in the classroom seemed very excited and didn't seem impatient because of the long wait. Everyone seemed to have opened up a chatterbox at this moment and chattered nonstop. This book came from Chapter 32:17. This is the first time Senior Sue has come back to teach since he left the school. That's right, but we still call him Senior Sue or Professor Sue. I heard that he was already appointed as a professor of neurosurgery at the beginning of this year. Wow, doesn't that mean he's the youngest professor in the medical field in the world? That's right. Su Shiwang is the only Prince Charming in my life. He's really admirable. The surrounding girls were all talking about their admiration for Su Shiwang, and no one was jealous. Most likely, it meant that one truly admired, worshipped, and admired a person. This kind of feeling was different from the love between a man and a woman, but at some point, it was even more noble than that. "Hey, Ching-chun." Xiaomo probably heard these discussions and whispered in her ear, "I think you have a lot of love rivals." 70% of the people in this lecture hall were girls. There were very few girls in the medical school, so it meant that almost all the girls in the school were here. Ahem. Luo Qingxuan cleared her throat and said, "In my eyes, girls who study medicine have their own pride. They won't be petty, and they won't be unreasonable because of jealousy." In her mind, being a doctor was an absolute field. It was a very sacred profession. Perhaps there would be some black-hearted doctors in this field, but most people's initial purpose of studying medicine was to save lives. This was a kind of belief. "So," Xiaomo covered her mouth and smiled. "You admit that you like Senior Sue?" "Xiaomo." Luo Qingxuan made a gesture and said, "I'm probably just like them. It's just pure admiration." In fact, when she said this, even she didn't believe it. Some feelings had already taken root in the heart at some unknown time. Then it would spread and grow in a corner that no one knew about. 2:30 in the afternoon. The first to enter was Professor Wang, he and his assistant, Suyu. Suyu held a card in her hand. When she walked in, she said, "In order to thank Professor Su for coming to the medical school to teach, and also for the arrival of so many students, the school also arranged a small interaction session after the class. Professor Su doesn't know about this yet, so please keep it a secret." Everyone said in unison, "Good." At 2:05 p.m., Su Shiwang arrived at the lecture hall. When she reached the door, the lecture hall was already in an uproar. However, when he walked into the classroom became exceptionally quiet. He was wearing a navy blue suit with a golden badge on his chest. Not only did he look like a gentleman, but he also looked stylish. Most importantly, it fully accentuated his handsome face. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Su Shiwang, the attending doctor of Xiqing Hospital." Su Shiwang first glanced at the lecture hall, then turned around, picked up a piece of chalk, and wrote a line of words on the blackboard. "I'm very happy to be able to come to my alma mater to teach everyone today. The topic on the blackboard is what I'm going to talk about today: chronic epidural hematoma and high cranial pressure hydrocephalus." When he turned around again, his gaze was fixed on a certain spot, and an unknown expression flashed across his eyes. The classroom was very quiet. Unlike the scene of a celebrity meet and greet, the fans were loudly shouting the names of their idols. The medical school was different. Everyone was impressed by Su Shiwang's ability and admired her. This book comes from Chapter 32:18. Su Shiwang's speech was very exciting. The field of medicine was like a black hole in the universe. No one could be 100% sure that they were the Dugu Chiobai in the field of blood. Therefore, even an excellent genius like Su Shiwang was very humble when he was teaching. Luo Qingxuan felt that the way he taught seriously was like a shining light, especially dazzling. And Luo Qingxuan also found another characteristic of him. Luo Qingxuan pursed her lips and whispered in Xiao Mo's ear, "Did you find a strong point of Senior Su?" "What strong point?" Xiao Mo rested his chin on his right hand and said, "Senior has many strong points." "Which one are you talking about?" "His straight lines are especially straight." Luo Qingxuan narrowed her eyes and said, "His handwriting is also very beautiful." He was really what all male gods should be like. He was so excellent in every aspect. The 2-hour lecture passed quickly. It felt like it had just begun, but it was actually already over. Will Senior Sue come to our school to teach in the future? Everyone looked reluctant to leave, which made Su Shiguang feel a little embarrassed. There will be opportunities in the future. Wang He's assistant, Su Yu, saw that the lecture was about to end. She stepped forward and said, "Thank you for the wonderful lecture, Professor Su. Next is the interactive session we talked about just now." Su Shiguang was stunned at first. Then the corner of his mouth raised into a very faint smile and said, "What kind of interaction?" "Ahem." Su Yu cleared her throat and said, "Everyone here is a doctor. Some of you will even be great doctors who pick up scalpels in the future. But when you go to the hospital, you will find that the most basic blood drawing is not done well. Today's interaction is to let Professor Su randomly choose a person to draw his blood. I wonder if Professor Su will agree." Luo Qingshun, who was sitting below, couldn't help but snicker. This was definitely a proposal that couldn't be rejected. No matter how cold and aloof Su Shiguang's personality was, he couldn't refuse the expectant eyes of so many people. Of course, Su Shiguang's deep eyes flashed with a faint light. He looked around the stage and finally fixed his eyes on a position he saw when he came in. "Then please choose a person at random. Professor Su." "Yes," Su Shiguang said without hesitation. The girl in the white sweater in the 11th row. Why did it sound so familiar? Wasn't she in the 11th row? White clothes. In the next second, when she subconsciously looked at her clothes, everyone's eyes fell on her at the same time. In an instant, Xiaimo pulled her hand and she stood up subconsciously. "Here, here." "Wow." So you put the medicine box on the table and said, "This student is very lucky today." In the next second, a lively discussion broke out below the stage, and all of them spoke in an envious tone. "Ah." It wasn't easy for me to get a chance to interact with Senior Sue, but the lucky one wasn't me. Sigh. This girl must have saved the world in her previous life. I think she's used up all her luck this year. Luo Qingshun didn't pay attention to the gossip. Instead, she walked down the stairs step by step and walked in the direction of Su Shiguang. At this moment, she felt that his eyes were focused on her, and he was focused on her alone. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 10%. End of chapter. Chapter 3219. Finally it came. It was the system's notification. It was her favorability. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and smiled faintly. Her bright eyes twinkled at Li Guang. "Yes, very happy. Hello, student. Introduce yourself first." Su Yu handed the microphone to her and said, "Don't be nervous." "Okay." Luo Qingshun took the microphone. Her cheeks were slightly flushed. She pursed her lips and said, "My name is Luo Qingshun. I major in neurosurgery." "Hello, student Qingshun," Su Yu said with a smile. "Do you feel particularly excited to be selected by Senior Su?" Luo Qingshun chuckled and said, "It's okay. TSK, TSK, TSK. It seems that student Qingshun won't be nervous when drawing blood later." So you pointed at the medicine box and said, "Then we can start now." To be honest, Luo Qingshun only looked calm on the surface. In fact, she was quite nervous deep down. The moment she walked to Su Shiguang and opened the medicine box, Su Shiguang nodded slightly and turned off the loudspeaker. "We meet again." Luo Qingshun was about to reply when Su Shiguang turned on the loudspeaker again. She had to give up. She took out the equipment for drawing blood from the medicine box and sat on the prepared seat at the side. Su Shiguang also sat opposite her. He rolled up the sleeves of his shirt slightly and put his arms on the table. After the tourniquet was tied, everything was ready. Luo Qingshun reached out and touched his blood vessels. Su Shiguang's blood vessels were not thin, so it was easy to feel. However, when she really picked up the needle, there was an indescribable nervousness in her heart. Perhaps it was because there were too many people looking at her, or perhaps it was because the subject of the blood drawing was Su Shiguang. She immediately held the needle for a full 30 seconds, but the needle did not enter Su Shiguang's blood vessels. At this moment, Yin Shiz, who was sitting on the small bench, suddenly spoke. Since Qingqin classmate is nervous, let me take her place. He didn't know why, but he always felt a very uncomfortable feeling in his heart. It was as if a huge rock was pressing down on his chest, making him unable to move. Su Shiguang looked at her with a probing gaze. This kind of probing gaze would slowly turn into attraction and then possession. Su Shiguang was too outstanding. If such a man had a probing gaze toward a person, he would definitely be able to do it. Perhaps soon, that person would. In the next second, Su Shiguang acted as though she hadn't heard Yin Shi's words. Her right hand suddenly grabbed Luo Qingqin's wrist that was holding the needle. With a sizzling sound, he forcefully stabbed the needle in Luo Qingqin's hand into his own blood vessel. If she's nervous, I can help her. At this moment, Luo Qingqin was sure that her eyes and mouth were wide open in shock. Hey, if you don't pull it out, you'll smoke too much. Su Shiguang's cool voice sounded in her ears. Luo Qingqin hurriedly pulled out the needle and untied the tourniquet. Sorry. At this moment, Luo Qingqin felt very embarrassed. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. However, she enjoyed this moment very much. The place where Su Shiguang was holding her wrist still had a faint scent that belonged to him. Also, the system gave her another notification. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 20%. As expected, the thing she wanted the most was tightly held in the hands of the person she liked. The affection that Su Shiguang gave her made her feel at ease. End of chapter. Chapter 32:20. Luo Qingqin and Su Shiguang's interaction ended under everyone's envious gazes, but not everyone was envious. There were other unusual gazes, such as Yin Shi's deep gaze and Lin Nichuan's jealousy. That night, when Lin Hui treated them to hot pot again, she received a text from Yin Shi's. How had you been recently? Yin Shi's Xiao came over to take a look and blinked. Who are you looking at? Why is your face so dark? Did Senior Su send you a message? That's not it. A cold glint flashed across Luo Qingqin's eyes. She sneered. If I had Su Shiguang's number, would I look like this? Then who is it? Yin Shi's. Him. Lin Hui pursed his lips. I told him that we are no longer brothers. Tis, Xiao said, while brushing the mutton. What's the point of being brothers with a scumbag? Lin Hui was stunned. A dim glint flashed across his eyes. Although I hate that he wronged you, and I can't stand how he treats Qingqin, but you want to say that he has a responsibility in his heart, right? Luo Qingqin interrupted him. Are all men like this? He has a responsibility in his heart. Lin Hui sighed. After all, Lin Nichuan lost her child because of him. How do you know that the child is definitely Yin Shi's? Luo Qingqin gave a shrug. Actually, I just need to give some money to the doctor and know if it's his child or not. But the result of this matter isn't important to me at all, because that person was no longer important to her. Huh? Is that so? Lin Hui clearly didn't think of the situation. He was shocked. Are all men so wise? Xiao said while eating. Just because you were drunk, you must have done something. Do you have no confidence in your lower body? Xiaomo's words were a bit too direct, causing Lin Hui's face to turn slightly red. He stammered, if I still have the chance to talk to him, then I'll talk to him. But why is he looking for you today? F***CK. Xiao seemed to have thought of something and looked at Luo Qingqin. Don't tell me he wants to get back together with you. Luo Qingqin stuffed a meatball in her mouth and said, even if he thinks so, he won't actually do it. The original owner of the body had never thought that Yin Shi's was a jerk. From the beginning to the end, she only thought that Lin Nichuan was not good. After all, they had truly loved each other before. Whether or not the other party had feelings for him, he should be very clear about it. However, this was not the case in Luo Qingqin's eyes. She felt that Yin Shi's was a jerk. Maybe he was different from those scumbags who deceive girls, but it didn't mean that he wasn't one. Xiao blinked and asked, then why is she looking for you? Perhaps in his heart, a relationship with only responsibility without love might not work. Luo Qingqin opened her phone again and deleted the message. She also blocked Yin Shi's number. This was also the original owner's wish. If she could restart her life, she wouldn't want to have anything to do with Yin Shi's. Little did she know that the moment Luo Qingshan pressed the delete button, there was a loud crash at the entrance of the hot pot restaurant. The table shook, and her phone almost fell to the ground. End of chapter. Chapter 32:21. What's wrong? Did something happen? As soon as Xiao Mo's voice fell, there were several loud bangs at the door. There was even the sound of an explosion. Luo Qingshan didn't hesitate and rushed towards the door. Fuck! She didn't know that as soon as she reached the door, there was white smoke in front of her. The air was filled with the smell of burning and gasoline. The first thing she saw was a huge bus on its side. The bus was emitting black smoke. There were two cars around it. One was an overturned motorcycle, and the other was a completely deformed car. Major traffic accident. Xiao Mo trembled. I'll call the police, call the ambulance, and the fire engine. Luo Qingshan's cold eyes narrowed. She looked at the hot pot restaurant owner and said, Do you have things like colored ropes in the restaurant? No. Yes. 2 days ago, when I gave gifts to the members, I had extra colored gifts. Is that okay? Yes. Luo Qingshan nodded and said, Boss, please give it to me. Oh, okay. In the next second, Luo Qingshan looked at Lin Hui and said, Distinguish between the minor and serious injuries. Immediately give first aid. Although she had experienced many big scenes, the scene in front of her made her fingertips tremble. There should be a lot of people on the bus because there were already drooping hands out of the window. If there weren't many people, no one would deliberately go back and sit in the back. After all, there should be very few people who wouldn't sit in the front and deliberately sit in the back. Luo Qingshan first looked at the woman lying on the ground next to the motorcycle. The pulse in her neck was no longer beating. Her pupils were dilated. She should have died on the spot. She took a deep breath and tied a red ribbon around his wrist. There was a man and a woman in the car. Although the car was badly deformed, it was a luxury car. After the airbags were activated, the two people were only slightly injured and unconscious. Their lives weren't in danger. She tied white ribbons around their wrists. Luo Qingshan immediately went to Lin Hui's side as fast as she could. He had just opened the door of the bus. In that instant, the stench of blood assaulted his nostrils, causing Lin Hui to unconsciously stagger backwards. Luo Qingkai frowned and said, What's wrong? In the next second, when her gaze fell on the inside of the bus, she felt her back stiffen. She actually had a feeling that she was in a world of zombies. There were more than 30 people in the bus, and all of them were lying in a pool of blood. One of them had a bloody hand hanging upside down on the handle of the bus. Luo Qingshan closed her eyes and lowered her voice. She said to Lin Hui, We are doctors. We are the Grim Reaper. I know. Use your professional judgment to decide who to save first. Luo Qingshan crouched down to pick up a boy in the corner and said, Hurry up. Don't hesitate. An unknown metal was inserted into the boy's chest. Fortunately, the metal was stuck in the artery, so blood did not spurt out. He was only about 5 years old, and his eyes gave her a very familiar feeling. His heartbeat and pulse were very weak. Luo Qingshan laid him flat on her coat and began to give him first aid. Do you need my help? Xiao Mo rushed over and said, The ambulance will be here in 10 minutes. I've already called. It's too late. Luo Qingshan looked at Xiao Mo and said, Help me hold the boy's arm with both hands. I want to pull out the metal. Now. There's no time. Luo Qingshan bit her lips and said, It's too close to the heart. Good night. End of chapter. Chapter 32:22. If she didn't pull it out as soon as possible, it would become more dangerous. Once it pierced the heart, the consequences would be unimaginable. Luo Qingshan put on a pair of medical gloves and used a pair of scissors to carefully cut open the boy's blood-stained clothes. The metal object wasn't big, only about 2 fingers wide, but it pierced very deeply. It should have been hit by something sharp when the bus braked. Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes and gently slid her finger across the boy's chest to determine the location. Xiao Mo's face was a little pale. Although they were all medical students, it was the first time they saw such a large scene with their own eyes. Their hearts couldn't help but tremble. Really? Do we really have to do this? Xiaomo took a deep breath and said, "But this isn't a hospital. If something goes wrong, if we don't pull it out, once he goes into asphyxiation and goes into shock, we can't even do the most basic CPR." Luo Qingxuan frowned slightly and said, "I think I can do it." Xiaomo was still stunned for a moment, but he quickly gave Luo Qingxuan a firm look and said, "I know. I suspect that the metal may touch the artery. If the blood splashes when I pull it out, I'll press my finger on the artery. Give him a cardiac stimulant immediately." Luo Qingxuan frowned and said, "Be quick." "Okay." In fact, the moment Luo Qingxuan pulled out the metal object, she was nervous because in this situation, no one could guarantee that the boy would survive. This was a gamble, and they could only gamble. There was no other way. Luo Qingxuan closed her eyes and quickly pulled out the metal object. With a hiss, blood spurted out and dyed her white sweater. "Qingxuan," Xiaomo shouted, making her feel a chill on her back. She didn't hesitate and immediately pressed her finger on the boy's artery. The blood stopped, and beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. Her other hand couldn't stop trembling in the cold wind. "Don't worry, I'm holding him down." Luo Qingxuan frowned. "But why isn't the ambulance here yet? There's probably a traffic jam." Xiaomo bit his lips and said, "There's a lot of traffic on this road, and it's the kind that's really bad. But this child can't stand a traffic jam." Luo Qingxuan's eyebrows trembled. "Leave him to me. You go and help Lin Hui." "All right, I've given him a shot of confidence." Xiaomo patted her shoulder and said, "Don't feel too much pressure. You should be glad that we brought a complete medical kit. Otherwise, this child—" "Yeah, I'm fine." The ambulance arrived at the scene 15 minutes late. The reason was that there was an altercation between two motorcycles at the intersection ahead, causing the ambulance to be unable to reach the scene. Moreover, the two electric scooters knew that there was an ambulance behind them and were unwilling to give way. Because of this, there were 3 passengers on the bus who were unable to receive timely medical treatment and were unable to be saved. Those 15 minutes were also a kind of torture for Luo Qingxuan. The boy's breathing was weak and his pulse stopped. Fortunately, she used CPR in time, preventing the Grim Reaper from taking him away. Standing at the door of the emergency room, a nurse rushed towards her with a stretcher. She hurriedly shook her head. "No, I'm not injured." In fact, it was inevitable that the nurse would mistake her because she was covered in blood. The dark blood dyed her white sweater red. Even her face, hands, and hair were covered in congealed blood. End of chapter. Chapter 32:23. "Oh, sorry, I thought." "It's okay." Luo Qingxuan shook her head and said, "There's a boy about 6 years old. I want to know if he's already in the operating room." "Are you talking about the boy who had a hard object pierced through his chest?" Luo Qingxuan nodded gently. The nurse continued, "He's already in the operating room." "Then may I ask who the chief surgeon is?" The nurse flipped to the first page of the notebook in her hand and said, "Professor Su Shiguang." Operating room. After Su Shiguang repaired the blood vessels, he performed the surgery to repair the arteries. Su Hao's vital signs were in a stable state. During this time, the phone in his pocket vibrated nonstop. "Professor Su, your pocket has been lit up." Seeing that the patient's condition was stable, the nurse wanted to find a topic to talk to the boy in everyone's heart. After all, every nurse wanted to have an impassioned love story with the doctor. Little did she know that Su Shiguang nodded indifferently and said, "Didn't the head nurse tell you what to say during the surgery?" I'm sorry." The nurse lowered her head and said resentfully, "I'm really sorry." Su Shiguang's deep eyes blinked slightly. He seemed to feel that his tone to the young lady was a bit too fierce. The next second, he said, "He's my nephew." In an instant, the nurse's face turned red. She bit her lip and said softly, "I'm sorry, Professor Su. I'm really sorry. It's okay." Su Shiguang raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "The call should be from my sister. Prepare to suture the wound." "Yes, that." Su Shiguang looked at the assistant beside him and said, "I heard that the ambulance arrived at the scene 15 minutes late. But the patients who were sent in, including my nephew, had already undergone emergency treatment. Are there medical staff at the scene?" "Yes, Professor Su." The assistant explained, "The emergency department just said that there were 3 medical students at the scene. 3. Su Shiguang's eyebrows moved slightly. Someone's figure inexplicably flashed through his mind. Moreover, there was an indescribable feeling of anticipation. Yes, one boy and two girls. When he asked this question, even he felt strange. But the desire in his heart made him want to know the answer. The assistant was obviously stunned for a moment and said, "How did you know that there were two girls?" "I might know them." Su Shiguang checked Su Hao's condition one last time before answering the call. "Sister. I heard. I just finished Xiao Hao's surgery. He's fine now." Su Shiguang patiently comforted her. Several medical students at the scene performed first aid on Xiao Hao. Although the situation was very dangerous, his life was saved. The woman on the other end of the phone let out a long sigh of relief and said, "I was really scared to death when you didn't pick up my call. They also didn't allow me to enter the operating room. You have to help me thank them properly." "Yes." With that, Su Shiguang hung up the phone, opened the door of the operating room, and walked out. Luo Qingchun and Xia Mo's group were looking over the list of injured people with the nurses. This accident had already caused 8 deaths and 30 people to be injured. "What happened to you? Are you feeling unwell?" Xia Mo asked worriedly. Luo Qingchun gently shook her head and said, "Nothing. I'm just a little worried about that little boy." "Don't worry, he's fine." In the next second, a voice as cool as water entered her ears. She turned around and saw that familiar face. Chapter 32:24. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 30%. Su Shiguang was wearing a white coat. His deep eyes sparkled as he looked at her with an inquisitive gaze. Actually, it was not an inquisitive gaze. To be more precise, it was an appreciative gaze. "Hey, isn't this Senior?" Lin Hui waved her hand and said, "Senior is also on duty today." "Yes." Su Shiguang nodded. His eyes gently fell on Luo Qingchun and said, "I didn't expect to see you again." Luo Qingchun did not speak because she was still thinking about the little boy. Xia Mo immediately used his elbow to nudge Luo Qingchun's arm. Then he put his hands together and revealed a love-struck smile. "Yes, yes. Senior, we are really fated." "Speaking of fated, I should be more fated with Qingchun." Su Shiguang narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze fell on her sweater that was covered in blood and said, "The little boy you just saved is my nephew." Luo Qingchun was surprised. "Your nephew?" No wonder she felt that the little boy's eyes were familiar. It was because of Su Shiguang. "Yes, you did well." Su Shiguang's mouth raised into a faint, gentle smile. "If I was there, I would have done the same thing as you." Before there was a way to determine whether the ambulance would arrive on time. As a doctor, she had to make the most correct judgment in her field of medicine. This was probably the reason why he admired her. In that kind of situation, she didn't have the slightest bit of fear and made the right choice. "So he's out of danger, right?" "Yes." Luo Qingchun pursed her lips and said, "That's good. But 8 people still died." In that kind of situation, if she did not choose to save a little boy and chose to save the others, the survivors might have been different. However, a doctor was also a human. When the Grim Reaper took the lives of others, she could do nothing. This was a major traffic accident. Su Shiguang looked at them and said, "This can be considered a lesson for you. I'd rather never attend such a class." Xia Mo sighed deeply and said, "It would be great if everyone in the world didn't get sick." Perhaps it was because today's scene had shocked her, but she suddenly felt that she wasn't suitable to be a doctor. There's no such world. Su Shiguang's eyebrows moved slightly. But doctors can be biased towards this world and work hard. Luo Qingchun looked at Su Shiguang. Her sorrowful heart suddenly felt warm. It was probably because of what had happened today that she had the same thoughts as Xia Mo and couldn't get over it. However, Su Shiguang's words allowed her to get over this hurdle. "It's getting late. You should go back and rest." Su Shiguang glanced at his watch and said, "You have classes tomorrow." Xia Mo immediately shook his head and said, "I'm trying to save an auntie. I want to wait and see her condition." Lin Hui echoed, "I also want to see how the young man I saved is doing. He seems to be very afraid of amputation. I hope it won't happen." "Okay." Su Shiguang nodded. Finally, her eyes fell on Luo Qingshun and said, "My apartment is next door. Do you want to change your clothes? And then I'll take you to eat something?" End of chapter. Chapter 32:25. Luo Qingshun was surprised. She looked down at her bloodstained clothes and touched her ears in embarrassment. "But I don't have any clothes to change into." "I do." Su Shiguang's deep as the sea eyes twinkled as he said, "But it should be a bit bigger. I'll go up with you." Xiao and Lin Hui's eyes instantly widened, and their lips curled into a smile that no one could see. Before Luo Qingshun could speak, Xiao pushed her and said, Go. I'm scared just looking at the blood on you. Hurry up and change." Yes. It wouldn't be good if we scare the patients in the hospital when we go eat." Lin Hui saw Xiaomo's gaze and quickly helped him. However, Luo Qingshun felt that with Su Shiguang's high IQ and EQ, these two people in front of him, AI, it was like showing off in front of an expert. "All right, then don't run around. Wait here for me," Luo Qingshun said, and then followed Su Shiguang to his apartment. It was around 60 square meters, decorated in an idyllic style, clean and tidy. As soon as she opened the door, a light fragrance came from the room. As for what kind of fragrance it was, Luo Qingshun didn't know. She just knew that it smelled very good. Su Shiguang opened the door and left the only pair of slippers for her. Then he walked barefoot towards the wardrobe. It seemed like he was looking through it and finally took out a gray sweater. "This is a small sweater my sister bought. I haven't worn it before. Try it on." Luo Qingshun took the sweater and compared it with her body. It should work. She cleaned herself in the bathroom for around 10 minutes. Her hair was still wet, but she didn't want to make Xia Mo and Lin Hui wait too long, so she didn't blow her hair dry. The sweater was a bit big, but she didn't know why it felt very fitting. Su Shiguang narrowed his eyes. His eyes were focused and deep. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 40%. She didn't know why, but the system notification didn't come slowly. Instead, it came quickly. However, she couldn't see any difference in Su Shiguang's expression or behavior. It was exactly the same as when Su Shiguang didn't have favorability. The air suddenly became quiet, and an ambiguous atmosphere filled the air. After a while, Su Shiguang spoke first. "You're not drying your hair? I don't want Xiao Mo and the others to wait too long. It's cold." Su Shiguang stuffed her hands into the pockets of her white coat and walked towards her step by step. "You'll catch a cold." In the next second, Luo Qingshun felt her heart inexplicably skip a beat. Her cheeks blushed, and the blush instantly spread to her ears. She cleared her throat and said, "My hair is long. It might be a little long. I'll help you blow." "Really?" Luo Qingshun swears. She had never thought that Su Shiguang would say such a thing to her. It was only when she heard the sound of the hairdryer that she snapped out of her trance and realized that Su Shiguang was drying her hair. This feeling was really an indescribable excitement and agitation. He even hoped that it could last a little longer. "Senior, have you dried someone's hair before?" It was probably the sound of the hairdryer. Luo Qingshun felt that it was a little quiet, so she found a topic to talk about. "No." Su Shiguang shook his head and said, "I've never had a girlfriend." Luo Qingshun was stunned. Was Su Shiguang telling her this? Good night, little fairies. End of chapter. Chapter 32:26. About 20 minutes later, they came down from the apartment. Xiao Mo and Lin Hui looked at them with an unfathomable expression. "Qingshun, I think you look good in gray," Xiao Mo said with a smile. "If your classmates know that you're wearing Senior Su's clothes, do you think you'll become the public's love rival?" "No." Su Shiguang glanced at her with a touch of warmth in her eyes. Xiao Mo didn't understand. He blinked and asked, "Why not?" "Because she's good enough." This sudden praise surprised Luo Qingshun and caught her off guard. "I'm really thankful for today. You made the most professional judgment and saved my nephew from danger," Su Shiguang said seriously. "Thank you." Saying thank you was always a little embarrassing. However, Luo Qingshun knew what kind of person Su Shiguang was. Proud, cold, self-disciplined, strict. "Senior, you don't have to be so polite." Xiao Mo rolled his eyes and said, If we have any problems with our studies in the future, we can ask for your help. Anytime. Su Shirwang suddenly thought of something and looked at them. There's a medical support program in Africa in a few days. You guys should be on break. I have 3 spots here. Do you want to go? Really? Wow, 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 wow. Such a good opportunity. Of course I'll go. Xiao Mo and Lin Hui said decisively. Su Shirwang glanced at Luo Qingshun and asked, "What about you?" "Of course." Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and smiled. "When are we leaving?" "The day after tomorrow morning." Su Shirwang reminded them. "But Africa is more chaotic and the medical treatment is very backward. It's not like school practice. You have to be mentally prepared." In the next second, the 3 of them said in unison, "No problem." Just like that, Luo Qingshun got Su Shirwang's phone number. When she went back at night, she took a few glances. They seemed to be much closer than before. It was as if something was pulling them together, making her feel unusually happy. However, her happy mood was affected when she met Yin Shuz at the breakfast shop the next morning. This time, Lin Naichun was not by his side. He was alone. Luo Qingshun actually saw him, but she brushed past him. She looked at the shop owner and said, "I want a vegetable bun and a cup of soy milk. The total is 6 yuan. Please wait a moment." After paying, she was about to leave when Yin Shuz couldn't help but call out her name. "Qing Chun." He tightly knit his brows. "Didn't you get my message?" Or, "I got it." Luo Qingshun put one hand in her pocket and looked at him indifferently. "Then I deleted it. Is there a problem?" Her cold expression probably hurt Yin Shuz. His face changed slightly and turned a little pale. "I just feel that I owe you an apology." He took a deep breath and said, "But seeing that you're happy, I'm relieved." "I don't need you to be relieved." Luo Qingshun narrowed her cold eyes and her lips curled into a taunting smile. "You just need to take responsibility and be a good man in your heart. And we'll live our own lives and not disturb each other." She wasn't saying this for herself. She was saying this for the original owner. If it was just for herself, she definitely wouldn't care about a man like Yin Shuz, because she felt that he was a scumbag. This book came from Chapter 32:27. Yin Shuz's body trembled. He wanted to say something, but Luo Qingshun only left him with her back view. He suddenly felt empty in his heart, as if he had lost something. He had asked himself more than once, if she was really happy, would he really be happy for her? They had really been in love before. They had really hoped to hold each other's hand until the end. But along the way, he didn't know who had changed. Who let go of whose hand? Was it him? But didn't he have a responsibility that he had to bear? Because the anatomy teacher had gotten into a small car accident this morning, the first and second classes were switched. It was supposed to be a beautiful day, but they actually had to see Lin Naichun early in the morning. But Lin Naichun's expression seemed to be worse than theirs. She looked at Yin Shuz angrily as he walked in. When she saw that the breakfast bag in his hand was from the same shop as Luo Qingshun's, she slammed the piano angrily and walked out of the classroom. The music classroom, which had been full of chatter, suddenly quietened down. Everyone's gaze landed on Yin Shuz. "Hey, the music teacher seems to be angry." The guy standing beside Yin Shuz nudged his elbow and said, "Don't tell me it's because of you again." "I don't know." Yin Shuz seemed very tired. He sighed and said, "Her temper is getting worse. I can't take it anymore." Back then, the guy glanced in Luo Qingshun's direction from the corner of his eye. He shook his head and said, "Forget it. Let's not talk about it. I just feel that it's the 3rd time you two have quarreled this week. Take it easy, I know." Yin Shuz forced a smile and patted him on the shoulder. "Thank you, buddy." Actually, he knew what he wanted to say. When he was with Luo Qingshun, they had almost never quarreled. No matter what, they were always together. Many people were envious of them. Although medical students weren't very gossipy, Lin Naichun's involvement in his breakup with Luo Qingshun had spread like wildfire in school. Now, everyone was basically waiting to see what would happen between him and Lin Naichun. Perhaps they did not disappoint everyone. They were not good. They were really not good. Yesterday, when he sent a message to Luo Qingshun, it was because he couldn't bear the pressure in his heart and wanted to talk to her. However, he soon realized that she had already blacklisted him. When Lin Nitron walked out of the classroom and realized that Yinshuz didn't chase after her like before, she frantically called him. After Yinshuz picked up the call, he grunted and walked out. Lin Hui looked at Yinshuz's bleak back and couldn't help but feel sad for his former brother. I heard that he's not doing well. He shook his head and said, Lin Nitron is very suspicious. Even without Qin Shun, Shuz is a good-looking guy in school. Naturally, many girls would send him love letters. Yes, I've heard about it too. Xia Mo nodded and said, because of their teacher-student relationship, it's not convenient for him and Lin Nitron to publicize it. The medical students aren't so gossipy. Not everyone knows that Yin Shuz has a girlfriend. You reap what you sow. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, I don't care. I also don't care about their ending. This book came from Chapter 3228. In a long corridor, Lin Nitron turned around, looking unhappy. She slammed her phone on the ground and said, since you don't want to answer my calls, then you can just stop using your phone. Her ferocious expression made her look like a shrew in a wet market. She didn't look like a teacher with her hands dancing on the piano. He had bought this phone for her last month because she wanted it. It was the latest iPhone model and cost more than 6,000 yuan. Although Yin Shuz came from a good family, he was still a student and didn't have the ability to earn money. He suddenly realized that the Lin Nitron they met again had changed. She had become vain, suspicious, and even irritable. She liked luxury goods. Bags that cost 10 to 20,000 yuan were a must for her. The phone screen shattered, but Lin Nitron didn't even look at it. She didn't seem to feel sorry at all. Don't be angry. It's not good for your health. Yin Shuz frowned slightly and said, go back to class. Everyone is waiting for you. Everyone, or Luo Qingchen. Lin Nitron sneered and said, Yin Shuz, you can't even be bothered to lie? Are you going to say that you didn't go to the breakfast shop with her today? I didn't. You're lying. Lin Nitron scrunched up her face and said, you went to the same breakfast shop. Yin Shuz was silent. He was really annoyed and didn't know what to say. He just felt very anxious. Lin Nitron saw that he wasn't speaking and continued, admit it. You have to admit it even if you don't want to. The truth is right there, and the evidence is right there. Do you want to go back to the same old grass? You're even seduced by a shameless woman. Nitron, Yin Shuz shouted angrily. Then, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Enough. You're yelling at me. In the next second, tears welled up in Lin Nitron's foxy eyes. She said with reddened eyes, you've never yelled at me before. Why are you yelling at me now? Is it because you're sick of it? She thought that she had succeeded. She had successfully snatched Yin Shuz's back from Luo Qingchen. She had successfully stood at the top of the pyramid and enjoyed the taste of victory. But now, why did she still feel so angry and aggrieved? I just want to tell you, Yin Shuz bent down to pick up the phone on the ground and placed it in Lin Nitron's hand. She won't seduce me because she doesn't even want to talk to me. No matter how unwilling Yin Shuz was to admit it, this was the truth. Now that he had said it out loud, he actually felt a little better. He turned around and said, if you don't trust me, it's up to you whether you want to be with me or not. Lin Nitron's heart skipped a beat. She felt that she had gone overboard, so she hurriedly grabbed his hand and said, Shuz, I care too much about you. That's why I'm like this. You make me feel insecure, Shuz. Now that I've told you, do you understand? Yin Shuz lowered his eyes and said, she won't have anything to do with me anymore. A person's heart could be seen from his eyes. When he looked at Luo Qingshun, there was no love or hatred in his eyes. It was pure unfamiliarity, full of unfamiliarity. I understand now. Lin Nitron pouted and said, then what about the phone? I heard that a new phone with a large screen will be released today. Why don't we go and buy it after school? This book came from Chapter 3229. Yin Shuz lowered his head and pressed the power button. The phone could still be turned on normally, and all the functions were working normally. It was just that the screen was broken. Just change the screen. Yin Shuz frowned slightly. I don't even have enough money for food this month. Why? Lin Nitron pouted. Aren't you going to ask your dad for money? Isn't he a businessman? You're the only son. He won't be so stingy with you. His money is his. I don't want to ask my parents for money when I'm already this old. Yin Shuz frowned even more. Do you understand? No. Lin Nichun looked away. It's fine if you don't want to buy it from me. I'll buy it myself. With that, she placed the phone back in Yin Shu's hand and turned to leave. Yin Shu looked at her back view, and his heart gradually sank. He suddenly started to doubt if he had made the right choice back then. If the person beside him was still Luo Qingxin and not Lin Nichun, he would probably be proud and happy. He didn't want to leave her. He really didn't want to leave her. Luo, Qingxun, Xia Mo, and Lin Hui didn't sign up for the school's mountainous support activities during the long holiday because they had to go to Africa for medical treatment. Yin Shi's always thought that with Luo Qingxun's personality, she would definitely sign up. He didn't expect that most of the students in class would sign up except for them. He wanted to ask for the reason, but he knew very well that she wouldn't have any interactions with him anymore. Hence, he decided to contact Lin Hui. He used to be his best friend. The scenes of the four of them playing around all those years were still fresh in his mind. It was as if it had happened yesterday. Lin Hui was different from Luo Qingxun. Although they were no longer brothers because of Xiamo, he truly felt that Yin Shu's was pitiful. Hence, when Yin Shu's contacted him, he agreed to meet him. In the bar, Yin Shu's had already drunk a lot, and his eyes were blurry. Lin Hui ordered a beer and opened it. Do you want to complain? How have you been? Yin Shu smiled. You seem to be very happy. What you want to ask is not whether we're doing well, but whether Qingxun is doing well. Lin Hui drank a glass of beer and said, She is doing well. You don't have to worry about her. I know. Shuz, although you are no longer my brother. Lin Hui finished the beer in his hand and said, Let me give you a piece of advice. Even if I don't know, I don't think Lin Nichun is suitable for you. Back then, Lin Nichun had left him for money and vanity, and she would do the same in the future. He knew that he had a strong sense of responsibility, but sometimes such a sense of responsibility would seriously affect a person's worldview and judgment. Whether it's suitable or not isn't important anymore, is it? Yin Shu looked away. There seemed to be faint tears in his eyes as he looked at him and said, Lin Hui was pregnant with my child, and that child was aborted. Shouldn't I be responsible for her? But the problem is, Lin Hui bit his lips and said, The child she aborted might not even be yours. What did you say? Yin Shu's eyes widened. He said in disbelief, No, that's impossible. Lin Hui ordered another bottle of beer. He opened it and took a big gulp. I think you can go to that hospital and ask. These are all recorded. The records won't lie. With a thud, the glass in Yin Shu's hand fell to the ground, and the glass shattered all over the floor. It was as if his heart had broken into pieces. This book came from. Chapter 3230. After that day, Lin Hui didn't have time to ask Yin Shu's about Lin Nichun's miscarriage. But when she arrived in Africa, she received a message from Yin Shu's. The content surprised him because it had nothing to do with Lin Nichun. It was about Luo Qingxun. If I want to pursue Qingxun again, will you help me? Yin Shu's. Lin Hui didn't reply to his message because when the withered yellow leaves fell on Luo Qingxun's hair, the person who took the leaves for her was none other than the absolute genius of the medical school, the youngest professor in the class, a hospital, Su Shiguang. Professor Su, the scenery here is really different. It feels like I'm in a desert. One of the students, Fan, said, This is my first time in Africa. Yes. Su Shiguang nodded and said, Look at the scenery more. It will be very busy later. Su Shiguang didn't lie because the following days were really busy. She was so busy that she didn't even have time to drink water. The place where they performed the medical rescue was a small town in the northernmost part of Algeria, Africa. It took them an entire day and night to travel from Algeria to this small town called Fusang. Because the transportation was very inconvenient, it felt like they had traveled thousands of miles even though it wasn't a long distance. The standard of living here was very low. Every family was a small bungalow. Although the town was very big, there wasn't a single tree. When the hot sun shone on the skin, there was a burning sensation. There was only one school in Fusang. Primary school, junior high school, and senior high school were all studied in the same school. There were only a few teachers. There was no university here, and no one had the ability to enter a university outside. As for the hospital, there was no formal hospital here. There was only a very shabby, small clinic that looked like a dangerous house. There was only an old doctor in his 70s in the clinic. There was no one else. Because there was no plan to limit the population in Africa, a small town like Fusang had no control over the birth rate. However, they didn't take care of them. They had diseases that couldn't be diagnosed. This was the reason why the mortality rate in this town was extremely high. There were even some minor ailments that could lead to death. This time, Su Shiguang led the medical team to treat the people in the town and give them medicine. There were nearly 20 teams in West City Hospital that were headed to different countries and different towns. Su Shiguang chose the most remote Fusang because there were many infectious diseases in Africa, coupled with the harsh climate. Almost everyone was unhealthy. Xiaomo held Luo Qingchen's shoulder with one hand and said, "My old waist, there's no other way." Luo Qingchen pursed her lips and said, "I can only persevere. After all, it's a free diagnosis. There are too many people coming." Although Fusang was a small town, it had a large population. In addition, the surrounding towns were not very far away, so there was an endless stream of people coming to see the doctor these 2 days. It was not that they were groaning for no reason, because there were many problems in their bodies. Some were even quite serious, but the patients who came to see the doctor didn't seem to care. In their world, there seemed to be a view that life or death was a very common thing. Even if one died because of small cold, it was not a big deal. After finally settling the last batch of patients who came for diagnosis, Su Shiguang handed her a glass of water and said, "You've worked hard." Chapter 32-31. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 50%. Actually, she didn't know that when he was diagnosing the patients, he secretly looked at her many times. Moreover, after looking at her, he had a feeling that he couldn't take it back. "Senior Su, you've worked hard." Luo Qingchen took the water and drank 2 mouthfuls. Why did Senior choose this place? After all, it was really hard here. There was almost no interaction with the outside world. Even food and accommodation were a big problem. Fortunately, everyone had investigated before they came and prepared a lot of compressed biscuits. Because this place is very backward. But there are a lot of places that are backward. We can find a town with a convenience store. Perhaps Luo Qingchen's question was very constructive, so it made Su Shiguang silent for a while. After a while, he said, "Because this place is isolated from the outside world." At that time, Luo Qingchen didn't understand what this sentence meant. But when she came back here a few years later, she suddenly understood. But her answer was, "Senior Su's brain is really strange." Su Shiguang just smiled and looked far away. It was as if he was looking at the sunset, but also as if he was looking at his own heart. Luo Qingchen thought that this treatment would be completed smoothly with pain and happiness, but she didn't know that there would be a change in the middle. A little boy from a neighboring town suddenly showed symptoms of low fever and came to the medical station they set up. At first, Xiaomo treated him with an ordinary flu, but he didn't get better. Not only that, there was a series of other symptoms. His whole body trembled, his face was pale, his lips were cyanotic, and other complications. When he came back on the 3rd day, Su Shiguang personally treated him and finally found a cause. It was malaria, a kind of insect-borne infectious disease. And this little boy had swum and eaten together a few days ago, so it was very easy for him to infect other people. Su Shiguang immediately isolated him and notified the people he came in contact with one by one. However, the situation was too urgent, and there was no time to control it. The malaria spread in an instant, and the whole medical team became nervous. Su Shiguang took it seriously and isolated each patient. But in the end, such an infectious disease still spread in a short period of time. Several people in the medical team even fell sick. In the evening, Luo Qingchen was preparing the Western medicine and traditional Chinese medicine for each patient in the pharmacy. However, in the past 2 days, she could clearly feel that her body could not hold on any longer. Her forehead was covered in cold sweat from time to time. Ahem! Luo Qingchen coughed twice, closed her eyes, and patted her chest gently. "Qingchen, you don't look well." Xiaomo walked over and touched her forehead. "You seem to have a fever." The next second, Luo Qingchen frowned slightly and immediately touched her forehead with her hand. As expected, he felt a wave of scalding heat. It couldn't be. "Don't come near me." Luo Qingshun took out a medical mask from her pocket and put it on. She said, "You go and get me the tube. I'm going to draw blood." "Draw blood?" Xia Mo blinked. "Don't tell me you." Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, "Although I'm not sure, the probability is very high. This kind of infectious disease spreads very quickly. If I'm really, you have to isolate me directly." "Qingshun, don't scare me." Xia Mo sniffed. Her short hair made her look like a little girl at this moment. "I don't know." Luo Qingshun frowned and said, "Don't tell me first. Go and get the blood tube." Chapter 32. Although Luo Qingshun didn't want to accept this fact, she did have malaria, and it was very acute, because she fainted in less than 3 hours. When she opened her eyes, she was already in the isolation ward. In her dream, the system was frantically sending her notifications about the favorability level. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 60%. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 70%. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. When she opened her eyes again, the affection was already at 80%. Su Shiguang was standing by her side in his isolation suit, changing the drip for her. "How long have I slept?" She slowly sat up, and he naturally put a pillow under her. Su Shiguang shook his head and said, 5 hours. The fever won't go down." "So as expected." He replied before seriously flicking her forehead. "Not to mention why you're not feeling well. Do you know that it's very dangerous?" He always felt that he had no desires in his heart. Nothing could surprise him, and nothing could make him feel sad. But when he heard that Luo Qingshun had fainted, his heart skipped a beat like it had slowed down by half a beat. In that instant, he seemed to know the position Luo Qingshun had in his heart. He didn't think that she wasn't important, but he never thought that she was this important. That kind of worry filled his heart, making him unable to concentrate no matter what he did. When he came to the ward and saw that she had calmed down, his tightly clenched hands finally stopped sweating. "I thought it was because I was too busy at first, so I didn't care," Luo Qingshun said. "When I felt that something was wrong, it was already too late." The ward was filled with the smell of disinfectant, and it was filled with an ambiguous atmosphere. Luo Qingshun could feel the care in Su Shiguang's words, and it was a relationship that wasn't just friends. Adding in the 80% affection in her hand, she could naturally guess his feelings. "Next time, don't be like this." He gently raised his right hand to touch her head and said, "Although the illness is under control, malaria is prone to relapse. After 3 days, when the fever doesn't relapse, you can be considered to have officially entered the recovery period." "So, I have to stay here for 3 days?" Luo Qingshun frowned. "I have several patients. Now you're a patient yourself." Su Shiguang smiled helplessly. "Don't worry about the others. I've already handed your job to Xia Mo. She said she's an invincible superwoman and can do it." "Xia Mo?" Luo Qingshun bit her lips lightly. The corners of her mouth raised into an extremely faint smile as she said, "Don't be fooled by her appearance of being very capable and experienced. In fact, her heart is very childish. Although malaria was an infectious disease, it was not life-threatening. When I found out today, she was even more nervous than I was. Even her expression changed." The next second, Su Shiguang immediately said, "That's because you didn't see my face." If she had seen his expression, she wouldn't have thought that Xiaomo's expression had changed, because at that time, even he felt a chill all over his body, and his body unconsciously trembled. When he passed by the glass door and saw his own face, it was really frighteningly pale. Chapter 32-33. "Oh." Luo Qingshun raised her hand and gently touched his face. "So why did Senior Su's expression change? Is it because of you?" Su Shiguang repeated seriously, "It's because of you." In the next second, Luo Qingshun's right hand froze on the spot. She didn't know if she should withdraw it or not, because she really didn't expect Su Shiguang's answer to be so direct. He didn't beat around the bush at all. In such an atmosphere, she couldn't do anything. So, she had to say something. So, why is it because of me? Silence, 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 complete silence. The atmosphere suddenly changed from ambiguous to awkward. She slowly lowered her head. Just as she was thinking about how to resolve the awkwardness, Su Shiguang's big face suddenly appeared in front of her. He gently leaned over and kissed her lips when she wasn't on guard. His speed was very fast. Like a dragonfly skimming the water, he quickly left. You, because I like you, so I'm worried. Su Shiguang saw her cute eyes and patiently explained, because I'm worried, my expression will change. I don't know if you're satisfied with this explanation, Miss Luo Qingchen. She was very nervous. She didn't know if it was because of the medicine or because she had an infectious disease, but he still kissed her without hesitation. In short, she was very nervous at this moment. Whether it was her breathing or her heartbeat, it was all calculated. So, Senior Su is confessing to me? Yes. And then? Usually, a guy wouldn't say things like, be my girlfriend, right? Hearing this, Su Shiguang's lips curled into an extremely faint smile. I want to say it in a different way. For example, Luo Qingchen rolled her eyes and said, could it be? You want me to be your boyfriend? No. Su Shiguang's deep eyes faintly glowed. Little junior sister, you guessed wrong. She didn't know why, but Su Shiguang's words made her feel especially warm. It was a warmth that flowed from the depths of her heart into her blood. So, Senior Su's meaning is? In fact, she just wanted to hear some heartwarming words of love. However, what Su Shiguang said next made her eyes turn red. I've never interacted with a girl like this before, and I've never liked anyone. His voice was neither soft nor heavy. Even though it was still the same tone, it sounded so warm. I was really worried when you fainted. It was the first time I was so worried about someone. I think it's very, very much. Su Shiguang looked at her clear eyes and asked, so, is Junior Luo Qingchen willing to marry me? Her eyes were red, and her shock was followed by her. She had never thought that Su Shiguang would propose to her in such a serious manner. Furthermore, it was in Africa when she was sick. A few years later, when she asked him about it, he said that he probably felt that it was a bottleneck in life. At the most difficult time, he saw his own heart clearly and saw the person he loved in this life. Seeing that Luo Qingchen did not answer, Su Shiguang continued, I'll take your silence as a yes. Nervous, very nervous. Although on the surface, he seemed to be calm and collected, deep in his heart, he was already carrying the tension of 10,000 critical hits. This tension spread bit by bit as time passed, until she said, okay, Senior Su, when we go back, you could treat me to a 9 yuan place. Chapter 32-34. After half a month of medical treatment in Africa, everyone seemed to have learned a lot. As long as they went through the most difficult times, no matter what kind of situation they encountered in the future, they would be able to remain calm. On the way back, Su Shiguang naturally sat beside her. Xiao and Lin Hui also tactfully made way for Su Shiguang. Although they didn't hear anything, it could be seen from their eyes that Su Shiguang looked at Luo Qingchen differently after she fell sick. Are you feeling better? Su Shiguang touched her forehead with his right hand. Luo Qingchen pursed her lips and said softly, with Senior Su's care, of course I'll get better quickly. It's different. What's different? You didn't know how to please me before. Su Shiguang looked at her eyes and said, where did you learn it from? From a book. He looked up and said with a soft light in his eyes, I learned it from medical skills. Luo Qingchen was stunned for a moment. She twitched her mouth and thought, are you sure you didn't learn it from romance novels? 1 week after returning to China, on Luo Qingchen's birthday, Su Shiguang fulfilled his promise and took her to a place with 9 yuan. The day of the marriage certificate was the same day as her birthday. Although she felt that Senior Su was too eager to marry her, Luo Qingchen felt that it was not bad. At the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Luo Qingchen was wearing a red sweater. She blinked and looked at Su Shiguang, who was standing beside her with an innocent face. The light shone on his handsome face. This was the first time she saw him wearing red. In the past, Su Shiguang was either wearing dark clothes or a white coat. He always gave people a cold feeling. Are you ready? Su Shiguang held her hand. There was a faint gentleness in his eyes. In fact, they didn't know each other for long, but it wasn't short either. After the trip to Africa, they spent day and night together. The throbbing in his heart told him that this was the person he wanted to protect in his life. There would be no other. It was because of this awareness that he didn't hesitate at all. And for a girl who could entrust her life to him in such a short time, he would definitely give her the best in this life. The corner of Luo Qingxin's mouth rose slightly as she said, "Uh-huh, I'm ready." Ding, affection has increased by 20. Mission completion rate is now 100%. The camera's flash flashed in front of her eyes. Then a red 1-inch photo and 2 red notebooks appeared. Satisfied, Luo Qingxin placed it in her pocket and officially moved into Su Shiguang's house the next day. Of course, it was not his home in the hospital, but another apartment. Before they registered their marriage, Su Shiguang brought her to meet her parents. After collecting the marriage certificate, Auntie Su specially prepared a table full of dishes and waited for Su Shiguang to bring her new daughter-in-law home. Uncle Su and Auntie Su were very kind people. Luo Qingxin also felt very comfortable being with them. "Qingxin, eat more." Auntie Su kept putting food into Luo Qingxin's bowl. She said with a smile, his sister said that he would only get a girlfriend after he was 40. I never thought that he would bring back a daughter-in-law. Auntie is really happy. Mom. Su Shixia covered her mouth as she smiled. Actually, I know Qingxin. She's the one who saved Xiaohao's life that day. Oh, Uncle Su suddenly said, so she's our family's benefactor. End of chapter. Chapter 32-35. Auntie, don't be like this. Luo Qingxin lowered her head in embarrassment. I'm also a medical student. I'll probably be a doctor in the future. This is what I should do. All right, Qingxin is here to eat, not to listen to your nagging. Uncle Su raised his glass and said, here's a toast to you. I'll hold your wedding once you graduate. Because she was still a student, and because of his influence in school, Su Shiguang planned to protect his girlfriend and not publicize their relationship for the time being. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't want to publicize it, but Luo Qingxin had decided to keep it a secret for the time being. After all, Su Shiguang's popularity in school was obvious to everyone. She didn't want to become the school's public enemy. Okay? Thank you, Uncle. She drank the wine in her hand in one gulp with a faint smile on her lips. This feeling was really blissful and sweet. Practical class. After returning from the holidays, everyone seemed very lazy. However, Yinshis didn't look lazy. Instead, he looked deeply exhausted. He heard from Lin Hui that he had already asked the doctor at the hospital. Although he wasn't completely sure, Lin Nichuan's pregnancy should have been half a month away from the time he was drunk. With such a huge discrepancy, could that child be Yinshis? He didn't know. But if it wasn't his child, why did Lin Nichuan do this? Did she just want to break him and Luo Qingxin apart? If there wasn't this so-called aborted child, why did he have to take responsibility? What exactly was this so-called responsibility? Everyone should have seen enough. Next, let's invite 2 students on stage to demonstrate. The teacher on stage said, Qingxin and Shuz. He didn't know why, but when the teacher called out their names together, Yinshis felt his heart skip a beat and his eyes reddened uncontrollably. Qingxin, Qingxin, Qingxin. Shuz, Shuz, Shuz. Once upon a time, their names were often placed together. Now, he felt that this arrangement was a kind of luxury, a luxury that he longed to see through. Xiaomo furrowed his brows and seemed very unhappy. Luo Qingxin, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind at all. She focused on demonstrating what she was supposed to do. Yinshis paused twice, but she didn't stop. She had nothing to say to Yinshis. She didn't stop to wait for him because he had never stopped to wait for the original owner. Both of you did very well, but it seems like you don't have enough chemistry. The teacher smiled and said, the chief surgeon and the assistant surgeon need a very deep tacit understanding on the operating table because many unpredictable things will happen during the operation. Only perfect cooperation can minimize the tacit understanding. Teacher, I think it's because of me. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and smiled. I probably won't meet Yin Shi's on the operating table, so I don't think we need to have any chemistry. It had to be said that Luo Qingshun's words made the atmosphere in the laboratory a bit awkward. But regardless of whether the teacher did it on purpose or not, she wanted to use this awkwardness to tell everyone that she and Yin Shi's didn't need to have any chemistry. There might have been some in the past, but in the future, there definitely wouldn't be any. Yin Shi's didn't respond. Instead, his gaze became extremely deep as he silently returned to his seat. After this lesson, she felt that no one would compare her and Yin Shi's together anymore. Because her attitude was clear enough, and because Yin Shi's already had an elegant piano teacher, Lin Nichuan. End of chapter. Chapter 32-36. After class, Yin Shi's was called to the office of the laboratory teacher, Wang Tang. He bowed deeply and said, "I'm sorry, cousin-in-law. I've troubled you." The laboratory teacher was his distant cousin's wife. He happened to see her at the wedding banquet yesterday and realized that both of them were in the medical school. However, she was already a teacher while he was still a student. "Shiz, you don't have to be like this. Perhaps the teacher is too stiff." The laboratory teacher said, "Qingqin's grades are very good. A smart person should be able to see through it at a glance." We found out that his cousin-in-law was the laboratory teacher. Yinshus thought that if he could do an experiment with her, he could close the gap between them. But reality proved that there was nothing else other than mockery. He really couldn't see any love or hatred in her eyes. There was only alienation. Yes, Yinshus couldn't help but laugh at himself. She's really smart. She probably saw through it long ago. Actually, the teachers know a little about you and Qingqin. She said, "Since you've made a choice, don't force yourself to turn back. As for whether the person in front of you is suitable for you, it depends on your heart." Yinshus knew that his cousin-in-law was referring to Lin Nichuan. But what he didn't expect was that Lin Nichuan happened to be at the door at this moment and heard the conversation between Yinshus and the laboratory teacher. She already felt aggrieved. At this moment, the raging fire in her heart burned fiercely, and she couldn't control it. The first thing she did was to investigate the laboratory teacher and successfully dig out her dark history. It turned out that she had gone for breast augmentation for her current husband, who was Yin Shi's cousin. Lin Nichuan directly posted this on the school website, making Wang Tang lose all face. Yin Shi immediately realized that Lin Nichuan was the one who posted this and went to reason with her. Unexpectedly, why can she speak ill of me behind my back, but I can't expose her privacy? Lin Nichuan didn't feel that she had gone overboard at all. She sneered and said, "I think she likes you. The way she looks at you is different. It's as if I'm a vixen and she's a lady from a respectable family." He had chased away a Luo Qingshun, and here came another Luo Qingshun. The problem was that this one was not good-looking except for her big breasts. Lin Nichuan was even angrier when she was criticized by someone with such an unremarkable appearance. "Lin Nichuan, you're too much." Yin Shi clenched his fists and swung them in her direction. Although he still hit the wall behind her in the end, the blood from his fingernails already showed his anger. "You, don't tell me you want to hit me." Lin Nichuan bit her lips and said, "I'm your girlfriend. I'm the woman who aborted a child for you. I want to hit you." Yin Shi bit his lip and said, "But I really don't hit women. Teacher Wang Tang is my cousin-in-law. I hope you can stop before you go too far." Originally, he really didn't want to explain anything to Lin Nichuan, but he really didn't want the people around him to get hurt. "Your cousin-in-law?" Lin Nichuan was stunned. "Really? But you never mentioned that you had a cousin-in-law in school before." "Whether I have a cousin-in-law in school or not, from this moment onwards, has nothing to do with you." Yinshus looked up coldly. There was no warmth in his eyes as he looked at her and said, "Let's break up." End of chapter. Chapter 32-37. In the end, he still said out loud. He wanted to break up back then because he had been hoping that he and Luo Qingshun could go back to how they were before if Lin Nichuan was no longer by his side. But Wang Tang's words made him deeply understand that regardless of whether he and Luo Qingshun could go back to how they were before, Lin Nichuan shouldn't be by his side anymore. "What did you say?" Lin Nichuan clearly didn't expect Yinshus to break up with her because of his so-called cousin-in-law. Back then, Luo Qingshun was so important to him, but he had abandoned her. Why'd he do it this time? Let's break up. Yinshi's repeated without any change in his tone. Other than indifference, there was only indifference. Are you crazy, Yinshi's? Lin Naichun bit her lip and said, I lost everything because of you. I even lost my child. Is this how you take responsibility for me? What kind of man are you? Yes, I'm not a man. Yinshi's narrowed his eyes and sneered. I'm not the only one who got someone pregnant in this world. Why should I take responsibility? In the end, he still didn't say something as sharp as, Are you sure the child you didn't miscarry is mine? He used to really like Lin Naichuan, but when she decided to be a mistress of a rich man, all this love no longer existed. But at least he left her some face because of their past relationship. Lin Naichuan was stunned. She looked at Yin Shiz in disbelief. She really didn't expect him to say something like that. In her eyes, he was such a righteous person. No matter how unreasonable she was in the past, no matter how she treated him, he never said the word break up. But now why? Lin Naichuan's eyes trembled and tears fell instantly. She grabbed Yin Shi's sleeve and said, Why are you so cruel to me? I should be the one asking you this. Yin Shiz looked at her tears and didn't feel any heartache at all. He said calmly, Why are you so cruel to me when you decided to leave? Although I was upset, I never blamed you in my heart. But after you came back, why did you break up Qingshun and me? Qingshun, 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 Lin Naichuan shouted 3 times. It's because of Luo Qingshun again. What cousin-in-law? That's all fake. You just want to break up with me and go back to her, right? Tell me, am I right? Yes. This time, Yinshiz didn't avoid her gaze. He looked at Lin Naichuan with determination and said, I want to go back and look for her because I still love her. He almost roared these words. It seemed like he was talking to Lin Naichuan, but he was actually talking to himself. This was a sentence that had been hidden in a corner of his heart. Now that he had said it out loud, he felt incomparably carefree. Yinshiz, don't regret it. Lin Naichuan widened her eyes and stared at him. Do you think no one is wooing me? What's so great about being a doctor? You're just a student who isn't even a doctor. I'll find something better for you to see and let you know what a real doctor is. Ever since Su Shiguang came to school to give a speech, his figure had been lingering in Lin Naichuan's mind. After getting his number, she wanted to pretend to be sick and contact him. But later, he went to Africa to do medical services, so she wanted to wait. Now seemed to be the best time to do so. La 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 la, it's going to be a new year soon. You have to keep warm these 2 days. End of chapter. Chapter 32-38. Yinshiz didn't say anything. Instead, he turned around and left. Everything that he had persisted in, everything that he had clung to, seemed to have been reduced to nothing. Since there was no turning back, he might as well start afresh. It was a sunny afternoon in the library. Lin Naichuan heard that Su Shiguang would come to the medical school to borrow some books in the afternoon. So she headed to the library first and chose a seat by the window. The faint light shone on her face lazily. She picked up a book about left ventricular artery blockages and pretended to be engrossed in it. Actually, it wasn't just Lin Naichuan. Everyone seemed to be well informed. Everyone knew that Su Shiguang was coming to school. However, they only knew a little about it and didn't know the real reason. A certain someone was only using the excuse of borrowing books to visit his wife. Although no one knew when Su Shiguang would come, the library was already full. The onlookers began to discuss heatedly with each other. I can see Senior Su again. I have to pay attention to what books he wants to borrow later. Wow, the scene of his speech last time is still vivid in my mind. He's really good-looking and talented. There are so many people here to see Senior Su. I'm so envious of my medical studies. Although most of the comments were from girls, there were also comments from boys. Dear, I will work hard to become a great doctor like Senior Su in the future. Okay, although I especially came to see Senior Su, it's just a form of worship. Dear, I still like you. Of course, there were also people who were inexplicably showing off their love. Lin Naichuan didn't care about these people at all. After all, she was different from them. She would definitely be able to get the person she had set her eyes on. Also, She had to let Yin Shiz know that he had missed out on such an outstanding girl. Then, she would date a doctor who was 100 times better than him. She would proudly receive his regretful, envious, jealous, and indignant gaze. At around 3 in the afternoon, Luo Qingshun received a message from Su Shiguang. "I'll treat you to coffee in the afternoon." Su Shiguang. Before Luo Qingshun could react, Su Shiguang had already sent another message. "I'll see you in the school library in 10 minutes. Choose a seat." Su Shiguang, 10 minutes? School? Library? Choose a seat? Xia Mo patted her shoulder helplessly and said, "Aren't you underestimating your husband's popularity?" Xia Mo didn't forget to lower his voice when he said the last few words. If someone heard him, it would really become the biggest news of the year for the medical school. "What do you mean?" Luo Qingshun blinked and said, "Don't tell me you already know that he's coming to the library." "I know." Xia Mo blinked and said, "If you're not a student of our school, you need to inform the librarian in advance. Although Senior Su used to be a student of our school, he's not one now. So the administrator told someone else?" Xia Mo thought for a moment and said, "The administrator didn't tell anyone. He just posted the news on the school website." "How can there be such a gossipy librarian?" Luo Qingshun pursed her lips unhappily and said, "Doesn't that mean there are no seats left?" Don't worry. Xia Mo put his hands on his hips. "Xia Mo will definitely reserve a good spot for you." This book comes from Chapter 32-39. In reality, the person who occupied the seat wasn't Xia Mo, but Lin Hui. When Luo Qingshun walked into the library, she felt a sense of déjà vu. The library was almost full of people. They were all in their best condition, waiting for Su Shiguang's arrival. Here. Lin Hui waved at her from the window seat with a bright smile. Luo Qingshun thought to herself, "Why is he so happy even when he's occupying a seat? Did he grow up eating peanuts?" "Xia Mo, I think you're right." Luo Qingshun put her hands in her pockets and walked towards Lin Hui. "I really underestimated his popularity." However, she didn't expect Lin Nichun to come too. She was sitting at the table next to them. Luo Qingshun glanced at the book she was reading. Her gaze was full of sarcasm. She wanted to know if she could understand it. Because their seats were very close, Lin Nichun saw Luo Qingshun when she walked over. She thought that Lin Nichun would just roll her eyes at her, as usual. She didn't expect Lin Nichun to stop her this time. "Luo Qingshun, I didn't expect you to be such a love-struck fool." Lin Nichun sneered. "But the man you like doesn't like you back. What do you think we should do?" "Lin Nichun, what are you talking about?" Xia Mo rushed forward angrily. "How can you do such a despicable thing like fake pregnancy and steal someone else's boyfriend? What right do you have to criticize others?" "You." Xia Mo's rebuttal was too harsh. Lin Nichun's expression changed. She bit her lip and said, "So you guys are the ones who told Yin Shiz about the child. Don't flatter yourself." Lin Hui replied coldly. Even if he didn't realize it at first, he would have realized it after thinking about it. "I just didn't expect someone to use themselves as a scapegoat." Although Yin Shiz once told him that they were no longer brothers because of Lin Nichun, they were still brothers. He had wanted to fight with Lin Nichun for a long time, but he hadn't found the chance. Now that she was the one who sent herself to him, she couldn't blame him for being harsh. "You." Lin Nichun bit her lip and said, "This is a school. You don't even call me teacher when you see me. Do you know how to respect your teacher? Someone like you who deliberately came to the medical school to be a music teacher with the real purpose of stealing someone else's boyfriend." "Huh," Xia Mo sneered. "You really don't need respect." In an instant, Lin Nichun abruptly stood up and raised her hand, wanting to slap Xia Mo. In the next second, Xia Mo caught it and smiled. "There's so many people here. Does the music teacher want to hit a student?" Lin Nichun was so angry that her ears turned red, but there was nothing she could do. He was so angry that he lost his mind and wanted to hit Xia Mo, but it was good that she caught it. If this slap were to land, today's plan would be ruined. "I won't argue with you." Lin Nichun returned to her seat and continued to look at the medical book in her hands. Xia Mo didn't bother with her and pulled Luo Qingshun's hand to his seat. The moment he sat down, Xia Mo asked softly, "Qingshun, don't you think it's strange?" If Senior Sue is teaching, it's normal for her to help Yin Shuz. But it's different this time. Why is she here? Silly Xia Mo. Do you not understand the main point? Lin Hui looked at him and said, the problem is that Yin Shuz didn't appear. This book came from chapter 3240. He just hasn't appeared yet. How do you know that he won't appear? Xia Mo pouted and said angrily, how dare you say I'm stupid? Because Shuz is sick. Lin Hui only found out about it this morning. He only found out about Yin Shuz's illness when he scrolled through his WeChat moments. He even added a sentence in his WeChat moments. You and I can't go back to the way we used to, but I'll walk beside you in the future. You can look back when you're tired. This time, I'll stay where I am and won't walk around. Lin Hui showed them Yin Shuz's WeChat moments. He was indeed on an 4 drip at the hospital, but the meaning of this sentence was a little strange. Could it be that he and Lin Nichuan? I think it's just a guess. Lin Hui made a bold guess. He and Lin Nichuan have already broken up. He probably found out about the child. Otherwise, with Yin Shuz's personality, he would still take responsibility until the end. Hey. Xia Mo blinked and said, you mean that the scumbag man and scumbag woman are coming out to harm others again? Actually, Shuz is very pitiful. Lin Hui looked down and said, Lin Nichuan spends a lot and only likes branded goods. She never cherishes the things that Shuz buys for her. So what? Xia Mo retorted. He's just reaping what he sowed. Stop quarreling. Luo Qingxin frowned and said, this is other people's business. Why are you two quarreling? I just can't stand him speaking up for the scumbag. Xia Mo looked away, looking angry. I'm sorry. Lin Hui felt uncomfortable seeing her angry and hurriedly apologized. Luo Qingxin shrugged and chuckled. If Yin Shuz and Lin Nichuan have already broken up, then the reason why Lin Nichuan came to the library today is damn. Xia Mo suddenly realized. Senior Sue is her next target? Although Xia Mo's reaction was a little slow, at least he reacted. After all, it was ridiculous for a music student to come to the library to read about the left ventricle. She's such a vain person. That's very likely. Luo Qingxun narrowed her eyes and wanted to analyze something, but there was already a commotion at the entrance of the library. Su Shiguang had arrived. Everyone seemed to be very excited, but they didn't want to show it too obviously. The moment Su Shiguang walked into the library, they lowered their heads. He looked over and, after confirming Luo Qingxun's position, he headed in the direction of the librarian. Teacher Su, you're finally here, the librarian said with a smile. Today is the day with the most people in the library this year. It's really delightful. Su Shiguang smiled awkwardly and said, okay, thank you. After taking a few books, Su Shiguang walked towards her seat. But in the next second, Lin Nichuan got up slowly in her high heels and walked towards Su Shiguang. The moment she brushed past Su Shiguang's shoulder, she twisted her leg and fell directly onto Su Shiguang. Be careful. Su Shiguang naturally didn't notice who brushed past her and immediately supported her. In that instant, Lin Nichuan received the burning gazes of all the girls in the library. But for some reason, these gazes made her feel proud. This book came from chapter 3241. Sorry, I think I sprained my ankle. Lin Nichuan lowered her head and bit her lip. I don't think I can stand up. Instantly, everyone's gaze landed on Lin Nichuan. She had big wavy curls, a light pink dress, and 10-centimeter high heels. She wore a yellow headband, and there was a faint Chanel perfume on her. Su Shiguang looked away and frowned. The moment he let go, Lin Nichuan's waist pressed down on his arm even harder. The girls who came to see Su Shiguang didn't seem too happy. One of them spoke up. Did you really sprain your ankle? Teacher, do you need me to call an ambulance? Actually, I happen to be studying orthopedics. Why don't I take a look at your ankle? The moment he finished speaking, the student walked towards Lin Nichuan. Su Shiguang retracted his hand as though he was relieved of a burden. Sorry, I'm not good at this. Lin Nichuan was a little embarrassed, but she immediately recovered her smile. It's okay. I often sprain my ankle. It's not a big deal. It's okay. Didn't I say I'm studying orthopedics? The student's eyebrows twitched. Let me take a look. Lin Nichuan hurriedly shook her head and refused. No need to trouble yourself. I'll be fine after reading some books. Her seat was by the window. It was the best seat in the library, and she happened to be alone. She thought that if Su Shiguang had to choose a seat, he would most likely choose to sit opposite her. Little did she know. Su Shiguang walked to the table at the back and looked at Xiamo. Can you sit closer? Xiamo was depressed. She really wanted to reject Su Shiguang because he actually told Lin Nichuan to be careful. However, she felt that Su Shiguang didn't know Lin Nichuan, so basic manners didn't seem to matter. Seeing that Xiamo had no intention of moving, Luo Qingchun gently pushed her arm and said, "Okay, don't be stubborn." "All right." Luo Qingchun spoke up, and Xiamo consciously sat down in a seat. Perhaps it was because this series of actions happened too quickly that everyone was still in a daze from Lin Nichuan's deliberate interaction. Su Shiguang deliberately went to interact with another person. This person had a subtle relationship with Lin Nichuan because Yin Shiz was among them. However, this was something that happened a long time ago. What everyone found strange was that even though all the seats in the library were occupied, there were many seats that were wider than Luo Qingchun's SS seat. However, Su Shiguang's seat was resolute. He was talking to Luo Qingchun, and their conversation was just too normal. "What books are you reading?" "Yes, a little." Su Shiguang raised her eyebrows and said, "Then, no." If he continued to speak, the truth would be out of the bag. At this moment, Lin Nichuan, who was sitting in front, was burning with anger. All the unwillingness in her heart surged up. Why? Why was it Luo Qingchun again? She was the one who interacted with Luo Qingchun first. Why was Luo Qingchun taking advantage of her again? This book came from the